Check, check, check.
Yep.
Open government relief.
So still sort of, like,
Yeah, she might be doing some
Microphone check, check.
science and ethics and investigations, things like that, some of that. I think it's gonna be, developing.
based on the kind of stuff that she did before, yeah.
Yeah. But she will be sitting with the land use group.
We what?
She will be sitting with the land use group.
How many people are in that law firm?
In Miami?
Yeah.
Worldwide, they're massive.
Do you prefer this or a smaller one?
So I've never worked at a giant law firm.
Oh, I was going to say, what is that?
Pros and cons to both.
Mr. Clerk,
Yes, sir.
are we ready to begin?
Yes, sir.
Good morning. Good morning. I'd like to welcome everybody to the January 24, 2023 meeting for the City of Coral Gables Commission. As always, it's a privilege to serve you along with my colleagues on the commission. I want to make sure that everyone is aware that we will have an open opportunity, as we do every commission meeting, for everyone to come and speak and provide their guidance, and we welcome that in every single commission meeting. I'd like to start off this commission meeting by welcoming Reverend Jeff Sullivan, the executive pastor from Granada Presbyterian Church. My friend, it's always great to see you, and welcome back to the City Beautiful. Thank you for being here with us.
My pleasure, and thank you for the invitation. Today's prayer is guided from 1 Timothy chapter 2. God's word said, "I urge you then, first of all, that petitions, prayers, and intercession and thanksgiving be made for all people, for the king and for all those who are in authority, that we might live peaceful and quiet lives in all godliness and holiness. This is good. It pleases God, our Savior, who wants all people to be saved and to come to a knowledge of the truth." Let's pray. Father, thank you for the peace that you give to us when we rest in you. Lord, we ask your guidance in this meeting, that you might give wisdom to the leaders as they discern ideas and plans and thoughts, that you might bring humility to those who present and those who listen, that we might have your spirit, that we would esteem others better than ourselves and work as a community together in unity for the good of one another and for the kindness for those who are in need. And Lord, give us hearts that are compassionate to one another. We ask in Jesus' name, the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen. Reverend, thank you. As always, we'd like to extend our best wishes to your congregation, to your worshipers on behalf of the city. We look forward to having you again. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Commissioner Menendez, would you do us the honor in leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving on to presentation and protocol documents, A1. Chief, good morning.
Here we go. Come on up, Gordon. Morning, Mayor, members of the commission. It is a pleasure again to reintroduce you for about the third or fourth time, I think, in my tenure, to the Officer of the Month for November 2022. On November 26th at about 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning, officers were dispatched to a call of a suspicious vehicle. Again, the see something, say something works. We got a call from an alert neighbor. Sergeant Gordon Dickinson was the first to arrive, which doesn't surprise me in his years as a police officer that he has been here. Sergeant Dickinson first observed a black BMW. It was discovered that there was a black male that was slumped down trying to avoid detection. As he detained him, Sergeant Dickinson also called for the second offender that was walking in the 1400 block of Mercado. While having somebody in custody or being detained, he was able to organize the rest of the officers in the area to make sure that they kept anybody in the neighborhood at this time of the morning. After further investigation and because of his years of experience, he made sure that the officers kept the people that they detained separate from one another until the detectives arrived. Once the detectives arrived, and because of his quick thinking of keeping them all apart, no one could tell the same story as to why they were in our neighborhoods. It was later determined post-Miranda, I know the city attorney's glad we said that, that the individuals could not dispel the officer's alarm, but also some of them confessed to attempting to break into a house. Through his further efforts over on Mendavia, he was able to find a homeowner that was not at home, out of town, but saw several pry marks in the area trying to enter into that house as well. In Sergeant Williams's write-up, he believes that Sergeant Dickinson's outstanding leadership and dedication should be recognized, and he should be awarded the Officer of the Month for November 2022. His event solved probably about 5 burglaries or attempted burglaries within the city because of his actions. This is not Sergeant Dickinson's first trip in front of you all as far as Officer of the Month. He is a constant stalwart as far as helping us deter and keep the criminal acts out of here and what he's done along with his partner. So with that, we present to you the Officer of the Month for November 2022, Sergeant Gordon Dickinson.
Commission, thank you again. Again, this couldn't be done without the citizens. The initial call, they gave us very good descriptions, and we also followed up with them, and they gave us a lot of good information as to where the subjects had been walking, and that was what led to us locating the burglary. And also, the rest of the squad that day, we had our north end and our south end who helped us out. We had, in the end, we ended up with 4 subjects. And it took a lot of manpower to get them separated, keep them separated, get Detective Bureau in, we had a crime scene come in, and everybody helped out greatly. And they cleared a couple of cases also with the county, and this ended up being a national ring who traveled down from New York City who was burglarizing houses along the way. But again, the citizens, this is what led to their capture and their being aware of what was going on a Saturday morning of all days. So, thank you.
Sergeant, thank you for your leadership as always. I know you work incredibly hard on behalf of the residents, and you make your team very, very proud. So it doesn't surprise me that you're here once again. Thank you very much for your hard work. Thank you. Please look photo.
Mayor, if you would indulge me with just one more point of personal privilege. There's a person on my staff that has been with us for many years, 15 years plus. And somebody that I've come to rely on in my tenure as chief, but also somebody who you may think that you see here on a regular commission meeting taking pictures, but there's so much more to what this person does. She came to us from FHP a few years ago. She has been really kind of my right hand throughout many different supervisors, throughout many different positions, but she has represented this department not only in our finest hours, but some of the darkest things through our PIO conference, mentioning through the media and what she has done. She continues to mentor the men and women of this department and gives them a purview that I don't think many of us have because she came from a separate agency before. So I know we usually don't do this, so I appreciate Mayor allowing me to do this to recognize her 15 years plus service to the city of Coral Gables, to Officer Kelly Denham, who's been our PIO for years.
Well, I'm at a loss for words because this is a shock. I did not expect that, but I have always loved the city of Coral Gables. When I was doing the recruiting for the last 10 plus years, you didn't have to pay me to recruit simply because I love this city and I love this department, but it starts at the top and it filters the way down with senior staff. And that's why we are such a great department. And I truly believe we're one of the best in South Florida. So thank you, Chief. It was unexpected, but thank you.
Kelly, before you leave, just really quickly, first off, you exude class and dignity. So I just want you to remember that this commission, when you're out there, you represent the city. And let me tell you, everybody always has something nice to say. You treat everybody with a lot of respect. You always have a smile. And you're always telling Coral Gables. And that's what, again, sends a strong message about who we are as a community. I don't know if my colleagues have any other comments.
She deserves a picture with us. Simple as that.
But I don't want, after we take a picture, I want you to stay up there because we have something else we're going to talk about.
Deserves it.
You do a lot of good things, but I'm not sure if it's stick to properties. Stick to properties. Please join us. So, can I get approval of the minutes for B1, the regular city commission meeting of January 10th, 2023?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Perfect. Moving on to mayor's comments. So I have a few items that I want to discuss today. The first one, which in my opinion is the most important item of the day, it is something that is very near and dear to not only my heart, but to the heart of the commission. This is something that has been lingering for over I can't even remember how many years it's been. And it's always been a very tough conversation to have on multiple fronts because you have an investigation that's been ongoing. Our hands have been tied. We've been reached out to, and I know that you've dealt with many people calling media outlets along with the chief, along with our staff members and the commission in regards to what transpired years ago with the female officers in the police department. I wanted to take this opportunity to have the chief say a few words in regards to the outcome and where we stand today.
As late as Friday, last Friday, Thursday afternoon, the city, through myself, the city manager, the city attorney present, and the previous city attorney came to an agreement with the FOP and the 12 officers currently working here based on some of the things that went on during that time period that you mentioned. We have come to an amicable agreement to the officers, which we have all signed and agreed to with the city attorney's office. I will say that this, in my opinion, or in my mind, put this entire time frame, if you will, to bed, so to speak. As I've told all of you independently, but also collectively, the toughest time for me was actually when it affected my family and when it affected the 14 officers that were involved and used as a tool, which because of Internal Affairs Commander Rudy Gonzalez kind of discovered after the fact that they were used as pawns. And we didn't, there was no kind of agreement to that. There was nothing else that came out from the improprieties that were discovered through us. So I think I am, and still can't be any more prouder than the 12 officers that are with us that were involved in this, because sometimes the ugly part of our world does kind of sneak into our ranks. And I think on behalf of the manager and the city and all of you and your bosses, I can't think of another way to kind of make this just if the whole thing was unjust. And as much as I've had all of your support over the years, I feel the same way about all our officers, but especially these 12 officers that were drawn into this for absolutely no fault of their own. And as I said before, if they ever invite me again, I'll go again, but I might leave the uniform at home. But thank you all very much for your consideration and allowing myself, the manager, and the city attorney's office to not only look into this, to investigate it as you all did, to get to the bottom of it, but also to make something more palatable for the officers who will never forget this either, as will I.
Chief, I've had a conversation with multiple officers who were involved, who were used as pawns in a political game in an effort to, we won't go into details, but it was a political, it was pretty disgusting in my opinion, what occurred, and it was shameful. And when you talk about individuals who go into the line of duty of being a police officer, we have the utmost respect for police officers in this community. We support the blue. We've been very, very clear on that front. But to be a female police officer is incredibly difficult, incredibly difficult. It's a privilege to work here in the city of Coral Gables. And I spoke to many of these officers along with my colleagues on the commission. I know the vice mayor. I spoke to many of them, having been here the longest. And we reassured them that there's an ongoing investigation. Your team did an incredible job. I want to say thank you for that, because this restores credibility in who we are. Under my watch, under the watch of Mayor Kaysen, under the watch of my colleagues on the commission, especially the city manager, we will make sure that if anybody is injured or if anybody's mistreated or if anybody is taken advantage of, like they were here politically, in an effort to politically sway somebody, we will do everything in our power to make them whole. And I haven't spoken to all 12 women, but I have spoken to a handful of them who have come up to me and thanked me. And I said, don't thank me. Thank the city manager. Thank the chief. Thank you for being so strong and not leaving the city and allowing us, our team, to do a great job and bring this in for a landing and make you whole. So I want to thank our city attorney's office, everyone who worked on this negotiating, been bringing this to a conclusion. And hopefully, like this salacious story was portrayed not only locally but internationally, hopefully a good story will be written. How the city of Coral Gables did the right thing. How we stood by our female police officers. How proud we are to have them here in the city. How without them, I think we wouldn't be in the position that we're in today. A world-class city. So I just want to say thank you to them. I apologize, as I've mentioned before, it's not the first time. I apologize on the record. We put this on the agenda multiple times to make sure that it continued to see the light that it deserved. Not that it would not have, because in your leadership, you've been very clear that this would not be swept under the rug. So I just want to say thank you to you for your leadership, and to Kelly. You and I had many conversations over this matter, and I gave you my word, and the commission gave you the word, and the city manager and their office, and the city attorney, Miriam Ramos, who's no longer here, but her team, that we would make sure that we would make everybody whole. So thank you.
Well, on behalf of all the women that were there that day, we've always been so proud of our chief, and that never, ever stopped. We absolutely love working for the chief and the police department, but I want to thank Peter Iglesias and you yourself, Mayor, and Vice Mayor Mena, and Miriam and her team. You guys always stuck by us, and we always had faith in you. And on behalf of the girls, we just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's very few commissions in this county, in this state, that put their beliefs where their actions are with their employees. So in the middle of a recruiting frenzy for police officers, there's one reason why I won't bring back somebody who leaves because they think the grass is greener, because the grass here is always green. And it's because of you all and your leadership for all of us. So the one thing I can tell you about the 12 officers that I'm most proud of is that all of them plan to retire here. And that's a sentiment to your all's leadership and your guidance through the manager of what we stand for in Coral Gables, not just our victims, but our employees. And I appreciate that.
Thank you, Chief. I think Ms. Cruz wanted to say something.
Uh-oh. Does the clock work?
It is a great day. It is a great day. It took a lot of effort. It took a lot of undoing what had been done wrong. And I'm very happy. And since I was the one that was here pushing and begging and asking, I would like to thank everybody that was involved in making this ladies' hall. I think it's a long, long time coming, but I think at the end, it was all worth it, and I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Number two, Billy, I'd like to have on the next agenda an update in regards to sidewalks and where we stand. I know we have about a handful of projects that we've been working on. So I'd like to see if we can have our Public Works Department, I'm not sure if they're here today, to give us an update on where we are in the sidewalks.
Yes, Mayor, they're downstairs, they're listening.
Well, if they come back, they come in. Number three, Mr. Clerk, Mr. Manager, I would like for my colleagues to join me on a formal letter to our new county commissioner, Commissioner Cabrera, and State Representative Demi Cabrera, asking that Bird Road be addressed. What do I mean be addressed? We need to address something in regards to traffic calming. I know you can't put speed humps on Bird Road, but there has to be something. I think we also need to address the issue of cleanliness, of the trees, the dumping. There's a lot of things on the median. We need to step up. We need to really, really step up the level of attention in regards to Bird Road. I just think it's, again, it's not up to the standard that I believe that Bird Road should be up to. I also want to address with the manager and my colleagues, please, I'd like to see an entrance feature on Bird Road. There is a property for sale. I know that we've been going back and forth. It's a little overpriced in my opinion. And we've been trying to see if we can find something that falls in line with our vision to have an entrance feature there in Bird Road. But I think it's a good opportunity. We should really push for that in the near future, if possible. So I'd like to draft that letter, Mr. Manager, if possible, and send it to the commissioner and see what we can do to just spruce it up a little bit. I think it needs a little bit of attention. We need also crosswalks there, potentially, if we could get some. We need to update the signage. In regards to letters, I'm also preparing a letter which will go to the manager and the city attorney for review, along with all my colleagues that I want all my colleagues to sign. I had dinner the other night with Mayor Cava here in the city. We discussed issues of importance to the city. We're drafting a letter to talk a little bit about it. I went over this with the manager already and our staff in our pre-agenda, which is a discussion of resources in regards to milling, in regards to stop signs, which are tarnished and faded, in regards to crosswalks, in regards to our bridges that the county is responsible for, that we are painting and we're maintaining for them. We got to get on some sort of cycle with the county where those are maintained. The one on Alhambra, when you pass Bird Road, has been crashed twice. It currently has yellow tape on it. It has water barricades and it has cones. You know, that is an eyesore and it's a safety hazard, and that's a responsibility of the county. These will all be addressed in my letter to the county. I'm asking that my colleagues review it, provide their input. I'm sending it out this Friday, along with the manager and the city attorney, and look it over for legal sufficiency.
Yes, Mayor. So if you'd like, you can, if the commission so wishes, they can designate you to draft the letter and send it out if we.
Yeah, but I want my colleagues to be involved, and we're going to send it to the entire commission. I had a dinner with Commissioner Cabrera last night, and we talked about this letter in full detail. I want Surami to get a look at the letter also, and the ACM. I want our team to look at it completely because I miss things. You know, I can't. There's a lot of things in this that are the responsibility of the county, and we provide a significant cash infusion to the county, over $100 million a year. We are a full-service city, so our requests from the county are very limited, and I explained this to the county mayor, and I would like a little bit further representation in regards to who we are as a city, and those things need to be addressed. Right now, like I said, we're maintaining the bridges, we're painting the bridges, we're pressure cleaning the bridges, just to keep them up to our standard. And I'd like to see that across the board, and I'd like Naomi to engage and tell me a little bit more about what are county responsibilities that maybe we can add to this letter. So I want to send this letter out by Friday to all 13 county commissioners along with the mayor. So
I'll make a motion designating the mayor to do that and to basically follow the process he just outlined,
Yes, thank you, Vice Mayor.
use his discretion. And
But, Mayor, may I add one thing to the
100%, that's the whole point. Please, add as many things as you'd like.
The south side of Bird Road is where the high school is, and we have no sidewalk along Bird Road whatsoever. It's a very dangerous situation for the students. We have asked FDOT to do something about it last year, but we haven't had any action whatsoever. I'd like to add that to the list.
Perfect, perfect.
So Mayor, if there's a motion to designate you to prepare that letter and send it, and I think it's 2 letters, so there should probably be 2 separate motions. You should discuss here some of the things to include in that letter. While you can get more input from staff, obviously you won't be able to get that input from your colleagues, by Friday.
And that's for my colleagues to think about what is important, because I know that we're forgetting things, for example, like the sidewalks. Because right now I can't think of anything else. I've been discussing with my team about it, but I imagine there's many things I'm missing. So if anybody from staff, please feel free to copy the manager, copy the commission, send it to the city attorney, and we'll include it in the letter, as long as within the boundaries of the county commission. The intent is to bring the county commission into the city and to have them understand what the city of Coral Gables is lacking, and how I know we get gas tax money in regards to resurfacing, but that's diminishing. And we need to make sure that the county is engaged, because there's over 700,000 people that drive through the city every single day, and there's 51,000 residents. So, for example, if we're doing traffic calming throughout the city on city roads, but if there is a county road that we've identified through Public Works that needs to have some sort of traffic calming, either a circle, either maybe a raised intersection of one form or another, and we can get the county engaged, we need to do it now. I want to include it in the letter, saying the following areas that are county areas have been designated or have been noticed that are problematic in regards to traffic and speeding. We'd like for you to look at those.
Yeah. Listen, Madam City Attorney, I think we're designating the mayor. I think he's pretty clearly articulated the general subject matter of what the letter will cover, and I'm happy to give him discretion to kind of phrase it in a way that he think makes sense and that's within the county's discretion. And as he said, he'll circulate it to us. We'll take a look, and if anybody has any issues with anything, we'll let him know. But otherwise, I'm perfectly comfortable with him, exercising his discretion on these topics to put together that letter.
I just want to chime in that since I'm a commissioner, I've had a couple discussions with the administration on some traffic calming concerns that neighbors throughout the city have had, and that the thing that sort of slows the whole process down is the county's support and county's approval. So I think it's a phenomenal idea. I already have one particular area that's been asking for help, but because the county directly has control over that particular intersection, hopefully this is a way to resolve that and many other problems.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
So that motion was for the letter to the county mayor. I believe, Mayor, you also wanted to prepare a letter to the county Commissioner Cabrera, and to State Rep Demi.
Yeah, I'll make that motion as well. Again, designating the mayor to draft a letter to
Address Bird Road.
Commissioner Cabrera and others relating to Bird Road in particular, and some of the issues that he outlined with respect to that. Second?
Second, yeah, no, we got a second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Thank you, colleagues. And the last item in regards to mayor's comments. So we put together a piece of legislation a few years ago that addressed sidewalks. By the way, the sidewalks have never looked better in the city. How clean they are. Just like the landscaping has never looked better. Never looked better in the downtown. You guys are doing great work on that. And I've gotten so many compliments from residents, from non-residents. They see the change in the city in regards to the fact that we're taking additional care, we're being very thoughtful. The flowering plants were a great addition to Ponce, to Miracle Mile. Now the problem is that you can see the big difference between the old landscaping and the new landscaping. It's really clear. I know that we're budgeting the new landscaping and it's coming, but it kind of shined the light on the fact that that needs to be done in the next few months. I had a meeting. I want to bring you, taking this opportunity, the sunshine. I had a meeting, and I welcome you to have a meeting with the representatives, again, from Merrick Park. I was very clear, that I'm not happy with the current standards of the landscaping. Their signage, tarnished. A lot of the signage is incredibly old. And I told them very clearly, and I spoke to the manager about this, if they're incapable of getting this done, we will take care of it for you. Half of the landscaping is dead. We need more security. We need to make sure the buildings are painted. We need to make sure that the buildings are pressure washed, the sidewalks are pressure washed, the garbage is being picked up. And I use this city's example as we are upgrading our landscaping. We're adding additional police officers to downtown. Our neighborhood safety aides are working. Our trolleys have been expanded to Saturdays. Now they're moving to Sundays. We're spending money in regards to marketing, management, marketing and public relations, excuse me. We're doing our part. We're doing our part to elevate the quality so that they can attract more people to Merrick Park. But I need them to step up. It was a rather tough meeting where we discussed getting this done. I know that there's budget constraints, but there hasn't been anything done on that property for over 17, 18, 19 years. So I need the manager, I need my colleagues to please apply a little pressure and make them understand that we will not wait 2 or 3 years to get this done. This has to be done now. Okay? I know the amount of money that they're making, fully rented facility, they're doing very well. And by the way, we signed a bad deal years ago, but we own up to our bad deal. But at a minimum, having that be a city property, let's keep it up to the standards like we did with Burger Bob's, like we did with the Country Club. We're elevating our quality that we're offering to residents. At a minimum, they should do the same. It's unacceptable that the trees facing the new collection building are all dead. The sidewalk is broken. The curbs are broken. These are things that should not be done. All that is full of mildew. You haven't pressure cleaned that, the sidewalks. So that needs to be addressed.
What was their reaction?
Well, we're trying to do the best we can, but budgeting, and I said, that's not a concern. You haven't done anything in 17, 18 years. We got to get it done. And they're working, they're doing a few things, but it's not completed. We've had issues with directional boring for irrigation that hasn't been addressed in months. It just sits there, piles of dirt. They gotta be proactive. They have to make an effort to just not do the bare minimum. They've got to be more proactive, especially when the deal that they have is essentially probably one of the best deals I've ever seen in my life. Second thing is, Mr. Manager, I would like for Ms. Cabrera and Antoine, who, by the way, are doing great work in regards to code enforcement, to please give me a list of the businesses that are not complying in regards to pressure cleaning the sidewalks. I know that there's not many, there's only a handful. It's time to take it to the next level. If they will not comply, we will do it for them every 6 months, and we will lien the property. Okay? We will lien the property, and we will do what is required, because at the end of the day, I will not compromise on the level of quality that we expect, because the city of Coral Gables, as you can tell across the street, is pressure cleaning their sidewalks. And we are also fining, as Ms. Cabrera will tell you, because I've had conversations with her, we're also fining the city. We're also citing the city does not comply, and we run out there and we clean those areas where we may have missed a portion of a sidewalk. So we are holding ourselves accountable. I expect every business to be held accountable, because, by the way, we're very strict with residents and citations in regards to their swales, in regards to bollards on the swale, in regards to trash on the wrong day, in regards to the colors that they can paint their house, in regards to whether the roofs are dirty. There should be no free passes for businesses. It's the law. They have to clean their sidewalks every 6 months and their facades. There's no reason why not. They should be putting their best foot forward. Okay? Moving on to public comment. Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Mayor, we have one member of the public requesting to speak today. It's Ms. Maria Cruz.
Good morning. Thank you for being here.
This is not as good as the previous comment. Maria Cruz, 1447 Miller Road. I'm not a lobbyist. I'm a resident. I'm a taxpayer who has lived here since we bought our house in 1976. We, the people that live in this great country, have federal, state, municipal laws, ordinances, rules that we're expected to follow. If we don't follow them, there are consequences. I'm a retired educator, as you all know, and sometimes I have things that I do not clearly understand, and I bring them up. We have a city attorney, and I believe we have a city prosecutor. We're told that the city attorney's job is to defend, protect the city. Now the question is, who is the city? Are the residents, the taxpayers, not the city? When someone, I think, when someone interferes with what we consider our rights, we should not have to get an attorney, because our city attorney should go after whoever does wrong. I know we do have a code enforcement department, but that is not always the answer. Case in point, developers, individuals buy property, and they decide what they want to build on it. Their neighbors, the residents do not like it. They start the process to challenge what the developer wants to do. They go to different boards. They get turned down. So the next step they have is to appeal. And they say, we're going to appeal. But during the appeals period, the developer decides to start doing things to modify what's there. Code enforcement is called, and I want you to know that I made 4 or 5 calls yesterday, and there was no answer. No answer. Okay? I called every number I knew that should have been answered, even one that is no longer a code enforcement number, and I got connected with the police, and they switched me back to code enforcement. I couldn't get an answer. So this is the question. Who should be defending the applicant's due process? Who's going to handle the persons or parties who violate the rules? Since this proposed project will come before the elected officials, and most likely will, should any commissioner be involved in suggesting, finding, or arranging for anything related to it? Shouldn't the process be allowed to proceed without any interference from elected officials? People elected you and elect officials to represent them. In fact, when running for office, most of you never said that it will be what you think is best, but what the people want. Has there been some sort of poll or referendum done to see what the people who pay most of the city taxes want? I know that business is important, but we pay most of the share. When did the taxpayers tell any or all of you that they want all these humongous developments? Please, all you have to do is drive around our city and you see what I'm talking about. Now that I drop off my granddaughter at Gables High every morning and I drive Lejeune, it's like we have a wall on the east side. There are more buildings than I have ever. This is worse than Brickell at this point. And anywhere I'm driving here, I looked east, big buildings. I looked south, big buildings. There's only a little part on this side that's still not excessively built. Is that what most of us want? Perhaps it is time for some of you to be brave enough to ask us. Don't let what you call a small group like me lead the way. Ask the residents and settle this issue. I say enough is enough. Stop granting variances all these changes, all the rezoning, and ask the people, ask those of us that live here what we want. The time has come for people to know that when they buy property in the city of Coral Gables, we do have a comprehensive plan. And if you buy a lot that says that is a residence, not a duplex, not a townhouse, not a little office, that we will enforce that. You need to please listen to the people before it gets worse. I say there's no more variances, no more changes, no more excuses, no more waivers. I'm sorry, the time has come for you to listen to the people. We're not happy. Thank you.
Thank you. I have one more item that I forgot to mention on the mayor's comments, so if we could reopen mayor's comments just for 1 second. Sure. Do we need a motion or anything? Because I've never done this before.
No.
All right. So, Flagler section, community visioning, excuse me. This is something that we've been talking about, this commission's been talking about for a long time. I'd like to get a quick update from our Public Works Director, along with our manager, where we are in regards to, we've had a virtual community meeting, August 5th, 2020. I have the results here from that meeting. I'd like to understand where we are with Dover Coal, what are the next steps. I had the residents at my open office hours, and they wanted to kind of get some guidance in regards to some milestones that we can be held accountable to before we bring that, so we can bring it back to them.
Good morning, Hermes Diaz, Public Works Director. So where we are, the next step that we need to do on this project is go back to the community and hopefully get an agreement as to what kind of cross-section do they want for the neighborhood. The last meeting that we had, which was virtual, I think that was in the middle of COVID, it was a little difficult to do, but we do have cross-sections, we have some estimates which now need to be updated. We can probably go back to the community in May.
Okay, has Culver Dole been engaged? Culver?
Yes, we're working with Dover Coal.
Dover Coal, excuse me.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. If we go back, if we schedule a date today in May,
Right.
okay, before the summer, if we schedule a date in May, will you have something to show them, a design, some sort, anything?
We don't, what we still don't have from the community is an agreement as to which cross-section do they want. And then the question is, how it's all gonna get funded.
I understand, but that's a different story.
Mayor, we will provide various alternatives like we did just like we did recently, to build more way. And then those cost estimates are generated based on those cross sections.
Right.
And we look at the involvement. As you know, there are probably going to be some assessments involved, depending on the extent of the work that the residents want. And that's how we'll be addressing it the same way that we're doing Biltmore Way.
So
My question to you is, do you need February, March, April, May? Can you meet with them now, get the cross sections so we can start moving forward so they understand the assessment, how we're handling it in Biltmore Way and how we're proposing to handle it in their area, so we can get a true number or a true scope so we can really attack it and say, look, this is the price for that area. You can do a $20 million project or you can do a $5 million project. How would you like to see it? Because let me just have one last thing. Just one last thing and I will be quiet, okay? The reason why I'm saying that is because you have one project that I'm aware of, one project that's being considered to be redeveloped in that area. The zoning code. The residents brought it to my attention this week that they're meeting with a developer talking about a possibility of building an office building there, okay? I would like to have a conversation with a developer as they come forward through the process and say, look, the residents are looking for all these community improvements. Maybe we can partner up and you can handle some of the traffic calming, the lighting, the sidewalks, or whatever we can do to all be rowing in the same direction. You understand? So, what do you think?
No, I think that's a great idea. I mean, that was, if we can obviously get a developer to do some of that work or fund it, I think
we can look at what the impact of that project is and get something done. That project will not be as large as some of the others. So, as you know, it won't be an agave or anything like that.
No, it's a small project.
So we can get that area around that project done. However, it's not obvious what's happening there. There is no technical problem with that area. It's mostly an aesthetic issue, Mayor, as you know. So what the residents want and also what we can afford is our key issues there.
Okay, so do you want to meet with the residents in February again?
February will be difficult. We
March?
have a lot of engineering work done, okay? Dover Call will help with the imaging to help people see what is out there. We also need to look at the financials. I think May will probably give us the time that
Mayor,
we need.
can we meet with, let's meet with Dover Call and
Sure.
provide the commission an update, next commission meeting with firm dates.
Okay.
Is that-
Mr. Clerk, please put this on the agenda for the next commission meeting, that the manager will provide an update in regards to firm dates to meet with the residents again after they've spoken with Dover Call. Mr. Commissioner.
To piggyback on this discussion, first off, your team did a great job at the Biltmore Way workshop.
I heard that went very well, by the way. Thank you for bringing that up.
And had the residents meet in separate tables, come up with ideas, designs, select, the options that they liked. I thought it was very, very well done. The one thing, and we talked about it, and Commissioner Anderson, and I want to avoid that happening again, is at the end of the day go, well, we want to know what's the price tag, or at least what the impact is going to be on us. So, and I said, we talked, I said, if we can come up with a low number and a high number somewhere in between, doesn't have to be too detailed because we don't have the details, but, just remember that the questions they had, and going forward, I think we need to at least have a ballpark number if it's going to be something that the residents will have to absorb at any time.
And that's the plan for the next one over, because, we have way too many options floating around, because we wanted the community to really tell us what they were looking for. So now we managed to, after this meeting, to shrink that further, and then we can get more into the weeds, so to speak, with the preferred options for that.
And we've tried to be clear with the residents because we have a lot of infrastructure work coming up. We have a lot of we have Firehouse 4 coming up. We've got Phillips Park. We are looking at a lot of infrastructure work, and this work is truly, those areas do not have technical issues. These are aesthetic issues that we're actually dealing with.
So
Commissioner?
I'm going to just add, because I share Commissioner Menendez's concerns. We need to have goalposts. We all may like to have the Bentley, but we may not be able to afford the Bentley. And we need to provide them some basic math, too. We know how many folios we have there. If you divide it up, it gets down to a number that's meaningful to that person.
Sure.
So it may come down to a much smaller number that is palatable because they're only paying for a small piece of the pie. I've also been approached by a couple of the residents after the fact that said, well, I just really didn't understand the impact of how, putting a median in the middle helps slow down the traffic. I didn't understand that when I was making the choices. So we need to provide this in some educational level as well. You know it, I know it from years and years of experience and observing how traffic flows, that if you're able to keep people in their lanes and they don't have this wide piece of asphalt there, not only does it slow down the cars, but the median provides a refuge area for people when they're crossing the street. And if someone comes peeling around the corner, as people will do sometimes unpredictably, they have a place that they can feel protected. So education level, some goalposts, and then bring it down to the individual level. How much per folio is this going to cost?
Correct. And that's the next phase in this.
Plus, we have two funds. We have one for the Flagler area section as well as Biltmore Way.
Correct.
So when these projects are coming in, we can start adding some of the money in for the contribution from these developments coming through.
We do have we expect to have multiple meetings on all these projects. So part of the Dover Call contract is multiple meetings with the residents. I still believe we have up to 4.
But why not have that information on the ballot for them during the first meeting? And because it'll assist them in the decision-making process. Oh, it's only going to cost me another $20 or $100 to add that to the palette of things. We need to have that relationship with the dollars and
I understand,
benefits.
Commissioner. This meeting was just really kind of a start.
All right, I understand. But that was the number one question, and it was the elephant in the room that was not addressed.
There's a lot of detail, especially, for example, the signal. Depending on which option is chosen, the impact on the signal could be significant, it could be nil. So there's quite a few unknowns that hopefully after we we gather all that information from the community. Like I said, we shrink the options down, and then we can provide more information, more detailed information.
So let me ask you for another request,
Sure.
and my colleagues agree, then please, let's make sure this happens. I don't want to hear in 2 years, number one, about any information being missing or not available. There is a website for this Flagler section. Let's make sure that everything we do is included there. Just like, for example, with Biltmore Way. If we had a meeting, put the meeting minutes up. If you have pictures, put the pictures up. I want to show that the city is moving forward on meeting with residents, meeting with consultants, being transparent. I don't want there to be anything up for debate.
Absolutely.
Zero. So next commission meeting, we're going to hear of where we're going to have our next meeting with the residents in regards to the Flagler section. Okay? Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And also, I asked for a sidewalk update. I want to see movement. I want to see costs. I want to see design. I want to see it into the budget. I don't want to miss. I need to know, please. I'm doing multiple trips to Tallahassee this year again. I've already been twice. I want to make sure for me to chase. We had record-breaking numbers last year because this commission worked with Naomi and my team incredibly hard to make sure we can get that money. Let me chase the money, but give me the tools to chase the money.
Any said money will be welcome.
I know, but give me the. We're going up in 2 weeks, so give me the information so I can get it done.
Will do.
One last item that I forgot to mention, number H2, by the way, is deferred. The last item that I want to mention before we move on to the agenda is to my colleagues, using this as an opportunity for the sunshine. I drove by the downtown this weekend in the North Gables area, and I noticed on Saturday and Sunday that there was a lot of illegal dumping going on. Okay? Couches, pieces of furniture. I'm not saying it's residents moving out, but they know better than you can't dump things on a weekend. You got to dump it the night before. It's also, I'm pretty sure people who don't live in the city who take advantage of coming into our neighborhood that's very quiet. They open the door, they dump things out, and they don't get it picked up. It's happening all over the county. Okay. These are areas that are consistent hotspots for illegal dumping. We have the addresses. I had a meeting with the manager, the ACM, Ms. Cabrera, Antoine, and my staff. We went over this, along with our city attorney. These areas are consistent hotspots for illegal dumping. I asked for Antoine to please memorialize that on an email, send it to the city manager. I will be requesting from my colleagues and from the manager to have it on a budget item this year, to have a post with a camera and signage in these areas to ensure that we stop this illegal dumping. Let me tell you why it's important. You may think this is a significant investment. It could be $20,000, $30,000 per post, $40,000 per post, especially when you connect it to our CCTV camera, which is beneficial for us. You may think it's Big Brother. I understand. But this is costing the city thousands of dollars. And it's costing the city manpower for code enforcement to have to deal with this, to have to research. Where did this come from? Who did this? Having to interview residents. It's unfair for our public works department to have to go there and deal with this issue and remove that furniture, that toilet over a weekend, and then dispose of it. It costs us thousands of dollars. The police are having to patrol these areas. The neighborhood safety aides are having to patrol this area. So, to make a long story short, I think the best answer here, which is, and you can use it as an example for those that you do not know, go to Monegro. We had a bunch of crime in that area, 5 dead ends that abut the city of Miami. We installed a beautiful wall with a gate that does not have a lock, a camera, and a light. It's very benign. It's not intrusive. It's not aggressive. If you go and speak to the residents there, all the crime has stopped. All the targeting, all the farming that was going on where people would go and look and see if somebody was home, touching on the Ring doorbell, the missing bikes, the missing FedEx packages, that has come to an end. This is the neighborhood of Monegro adjacent to Christie's. Because people understand. You have to stop at that gate. The gate, you can open that gate, you walk through, but you're on camera. So eventually we will catch you because we triangulate what's going on in that area. This area needs similar attention. So I've asked, and I'm asking for my colleagues to support me, to please put together these 10 areas. I want it in the budget. I'm asking for a motion to make sure that this gets put into the budget next meeting.
I'll move it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, last item. Chief, can we talk about, and I forgot about it, it was my bad, I apologize. NSAs. I know the NSAs, I know you did. The NSAs are very busy. By the way, they're doing a great job.
Yes, sir.
Because when you tag up the NSAs, tag team with the police, it's just another layer of redundancy. How are we doing with code enforcement, talking about code enforcement?
Since July 1st through the 15th of December, we had 47 incidents where we actually called in or dealt with boxes in the pit, political signs in the swale. A couple different ways we do that, either through the NTL, which is the neighborhood team officer, will then contact the NSAs, or which will then contact the code enforcement people. To your other point about the dumping and things like that, it's after hours for the most part. So I believe along with personnel, I mean, I don't have 24-hour coverages on those cameras as it stands right now. We've got 3 shifts going. I would have to actually increase that and look at the head count to watch those cameras all the time and put up certain cameras. So we talked with the IT director this week about looking at certain places where we can put cameras. We have some other pressing cases right now, anti-Semitic postings that we're actually in the process of investigating as well. So there's a lot of call for the cameras. But the NSAs, again, I think it was a total of like 1,600 packages that were moved during the front doorstep for the Porch Pirates. So we had an unusual low number with doing that during those holidays as well. So we've continued to go out there. I don't want them to get engaged. They are doing a really good job of educational flyers. We're actually doing the same thing. The fire chief and I talked yesterday. But then again, this is the notification. Following up with the enforcement side of it's going to be to deal with the code enforcement people. So
In regards to the NSAs, I mean, they're a godsend when you complement them with the police. There's another layer of redundancy. What I want to see, and we talked about, is simple things: a dirty roof, a couch on the side of a corner. Nothing real granular. I don't want them to be engaging with people. I want them to be left to code enforcement. But if they see something on a weekend that's blatant, help us out with a couch in the corner or something that was thrown out there. They know very well that area doesn't get picked up till next Friday, and that shouldn't be there. But we're seeing a lot of this issue. Another issue is with the illegal dumping. It's not the police's job to be trying to catch people who are illegally dumping. They're not going to catch them. These people are very smart, and they do it in the cover of darkness. They may run into somebody who's illegally dumping, but it's more chances than not they're not going to catch them. When you put that camera up and that camera post, it immediately with a sign saying this area is under surveillance, no one is going to do that. Look at Monegro. They don't even go into the neighborhood anymore because they know that there's police, there's the neighborhood safety aides, and now there's 5 cameras that are looking at them. So if they're foolish enough to even consider, stealing a package of a porch, they're going to get caught. So that's what I'm trying to achieve here, which will open up our code enforcement to do other things, our NSAs to do other things, and our police officers to not be worrying about, these kind of ridiculous code enforcement, illegal dumping issues. So
the other thing that works in some areas throughout the state is, I put it out there, reward for tips on illegal dumping on those signs does generate some people. I think I could probably employ some of our homeless people if they sit there with a phone and call us and make a living just to keep an eye on it and kill literally 2 birds with 1 stone. But I think there's different ways that we can go about the illegal dumping side. I know the Miami-Dade County does it, a very large unit to do that. I think we would have to kind of look at how much investigation we would have to do from the police side if all we have is a license plate or something like that. So we would have to work it alongside. But that helps us with that.
Chief, as always, thank you for your hard work, and thank you to the everyone, the NSAs, and all their hard work in the residential neighborhoods. Thank you. Moving on to the consent agenda.
Before the vote adopting the consent agenda is taken, is there anyone who wishes additional discussion or review of any item on the consent agenda? If not, may I have a motion?
I'll move it. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Perfect. Moving on to 2-1. Time certain.
Mayor, 2-1 is a resolution from the Historic Preservation Board requesting that the City Commission adopt a resolution authorizing ad valorem tax relief for the property located at 1206 Cordova Street, a local historic landmark, legally described as Lot 7 and the south half of Lot 8, Block 1, Granada Place amended plat, according to the plat thereof, as recorded in Plat Book 13 at page 51 of the Public Records of Miami-Dade County.
Good morning, Warren Adams, Preservation Officer. The resolution from the Historic Preservation Board requesting the Commission adopt a resolution authorising the ad valorem tax relief. The Historic Preservation Board unanimously 8-0 passed a motion to recommend approval. The property is 1206 Cordova Street, built 1925, individually designated in 2017. The work that was carried out is new impact-resistant windows, removal of non-original carport, removal of an addition, new arched entry door, reintroduction of barrel tile, painting the house, new impact-resistant garage doors, canvas awnings, stucco repair, mechanical electrical plumbing, a one-storey addition, a new septic tank, new perimeter wall, installation of new paver walkways and driveway, and new landscaping. The total cost was $150,000, or the estimated cost. I believe there's a PowerPoint presentation just showing the work that was undertaken. That's the historic photo of the property. This was before 2018, and this is what we have now.
Wow,
Yep.
transformation.
Beautiful. Very well done.
And I believe the property owner is here.
But the neighbors are happy too.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So time of motion?
Yep. Any other comments?
Nope.
Just want to say thank you to the resident for embarking, making sure that we can protect, a gem of this magnitude here in the city. So we ask you to enjoy it.
How long did it take, the whole process? I'm always curious about those things.
I think it started 3 years.
Okay. It's reasonable.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion.
Second,
Commissioner Anderson,
yes.
Commissioner Kaysen,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mena,
Yes.
Commissioner Menendez,
Yes.
Mayor Lago.
Yes. Warren, great work. Thank you to the resident again. Time certain, 10 o'clock, H1 and H2.
You said you deferred H2?
Oh, I'm sorry, we deferred H2. Yes, I apologize. So it's H1? That was deferred to or no?
No, H1 will go.
H1.
H1 is a resolution of the City Commission accepting a proposal from artists Janine and Tony and approving the fabrication and installation of the sculpture Whispering Through a Stone, authorizing the city manager or his or her designee to negotiate an agreement with the artist, authorizing an amendment to the fiscal year 2022 to 2023 amended budget to recognize as revenue a transfer from the Art and Public Places Reserve and appropriating such funds to put toward the cost of fabrication, installation, and related expenses regarding the artwork.
Good morning, Mayor,
Morning,
Vice
good morning.
Mayor,
Thank you
Commissioners.
for being here.
Catherine Cathers, Arts and Culture Specialist with the city. The Cultural Development Board is making a recommendation for the commission and installation of the sculpture Whispering Through a Stone. Adler Guerrier is here as an appointed member of the Arts Advisory Panel to speak and answer any questions on their behalf. And Janine Antony, the artist, along with her gallery representative, are attending the meeting via Zoom. And Ms. Antony would like to make a statement following the presentation and will be available for any questions. So we do have a PowerPoint. I'd like to briefly review the process we followed and the resulting recommendation. So the City Commission has consistently supported building the city's public art collection with artworks by prominent artists. On August 2nd, 2022, the Arts Advisory Panel reviewed a proposal by Janine Antony that included a permanent sculpture Whispering Through a Stone. The panel unanimously recommended approval of the proposal at that time. On August 4th, 2022, the Cultural Development Board reviewed the proposal and prioritized recommendation for artwork that could be completed and celebrated in time for Art Basel 2022. On August 24th, the City Commission saw the initial proposal for Whispering Through a Stone and overall expressed interest in the artwork, also prioritizing a decision for Art Basel 2022 at that time. So on December 20th, the Cultural Development Board reviewed a revised proposal for Whispering Through a Stone and is recommending approval to the City Commission today. This is a rendering of the piece at one of the proposed locations, which would be across from City Hall underneath the tree. Janine Anthony, just as a little refresher about her background, she is from Freeport, Bahamas. She lives and works in New York and Miami. She received her MFA in sculpture with honors from the Rhode Island School of Design and is represented by Lorraine Augustine. Anthony works in sculpture, performance art, and photography. She is globally known for deeply personal and conceptual process that articulates her relationship to the world and the emotional states felt in and through the senses, which this piece represents. Her artwork has been exhibited and is in the collections of major institutions, including the Whitney Museum of Art, the Museum of Modern Art, the Hirshhorn Museum and Sculpture Garden, and among others in Ireland, Sweden, the UK, Germany, and more. In addition, Anthony has been represented in several international biennials and festivals, including the Whitney, Venice, Johannesburg, Documenta, and others. So here's another rendering of the piece if it were to be placed on Miracle Mile. This is just technical information about the piece, which would be a new commission completed in 2023 out of carved stone. The estimated scale being about 5 by 4 by 6. It will depend on what stone will be selected, with an estimated weight of about 20,000 pounds. So a little bit about the piece itself. The stone will facilitate a private conversation in a public place. Whispering Through the Stone is based on the design of a classic conversation chair and allows people to share secrets or important moments privately while in a public space. 2 seats will be sculpted out of a large stone facing in opposite directions with a small hole passing through the stone, connecting the areas to allow those seated to speak in an intimate manner. The artwork is meant as a grounding presence, a place of respite, welcoming visitors to slow down and allow meaningful conversations. We anticipate that this stone will quickly become a cherished site for special moments. She did propose a variety of locations, and she is very open to having it live in one place and then perhaps move to another. She could perhaps speak more about that if you like. This is just a different view of those same locations along Miracle Mile and again at Merrick Park. And just for clarification, the site across the street in Merrick Park is outside of the Holiday Park borders and behind where the large Santa is placed at that time of the year. So we felt that as staff, we felt that that location has the number of people passing by it, not only for festivals who could see it and then maybe return for those special moments, and also we've noticed a lot of people just taking regular daily walks and walks with their dogs. So while it still has that beautiful feeling of being in the park setting with the tree behind it. So again, just a close-up of that rendering. This is an estimate of the artwork itself with a breakdown of the various components of the artwork. And then we're asking for an additional $29,500 to take care of the installation, lighting, signage, and education and outreach. Another rendering of the piece on Miracle Mile. So staff is recommending the total funding of $307,100 for the proposed commission-related expenses, as I just mentioned. The funding is proposed through the Art Fund, which is funded through private development projects. And now I would like the city to recognize Janine Anthony, who is available via Zoom. Mr. City Clerk, could you?
Yes, she is on.
Oh, she is great, super.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you for giving me the time to tell you about my piece. Catherine did a beautiful job, very succinct and articulate. I just wanted to say that I have a big connection to Florida. I've been coming here my whole life, and my parents have been living in South Florida for 25 years. But in the past 15 years, I've been coming for 10 days a month to take care of my elderly mother. And Coral Gables, especially Miracle Mile, has become a destination to get her out of the house. And so when I got this opportunity to make a proposal, it was within that context that I thought about the piece. And I had a memory of my childhood. I grew up in Freeport, Bahamas, and we had a shopping center called the International Bazaar. And we used to go there for dinner and for shopping. And at the center of this shopping center was a big Buddha with 2 staircases leading up to him. And my father said to me, I'm sure he made this up, if you rub the tummy of the Buddha, your wish will come true. So my brother and I would race off, run up the stairs to hopefully have our wish come true. And so I wanted to create an object that was a kind of ritual for the people of Coral Gables and the visitors. And I can say if I have the opportunity to make the piece, I'll certainly sit my mom in that stone and tell her what an amazing mother she's been. So the idea for whispering through a stone is that it provides a place and a tool to say what needs to be communicated. And the specialness of the situation would create an intention in the speaker and allow the sentiment to resonate for the listener. So that's just a little story to say why, as an artist, I would come up with this sort of idea. So there's a little hole that goes between the 2 seats that allows you to speak your feelings. I'm here for any questions or thoughts or even recommendations of sites that you might have.
Perfect. Adler, welcome. Welcome again. As I've mentioned before, thank you for your service to the city. I know it's a big commitment for you, and I know you take a lot of pride, and you came to see me on Friday, open office hours, and we talked for some time in regards to the future of arts here in the city. Beautiful. It's very bright, especially with people like yourself and Catherine who are leading the way along with the board. So I wanted to get your opinion and a little bit of guidance, because as a person who not only I highly respect you, I have a passion for your artwork. Your artwork is beautiful. It's complex. And as I told you, I know you're going to get very upset what I'm going to say right now, but I'm going to say it anyways. I'm going to put it on the record. As I look forward to the city of Coral Gables one day having one of your works in our parks, so that people can see not only an exceptional artist, but a resident who has been in the most major museums in the world, has been in the Whitney, has had exhibitions in some of the most major museums internationally, is represented by the most important gallery here in South Florida, in the state of Florida, who is now in Art Basel, Switzerland, along with being in Basel, Miami, David Castillo, who I have a lot of respect for. And you've been with him since the beginning. You were one of his first artists that he signed with him. How many years ago was that?
2009.
2009. So I want your opinion, because your opinion matters.
Well, as far as this piece is concerned, I will say, as Catherine's presentation pointed out, the advisory panel, we were unanimous in supporting this work, mostly because of its tenor. To have an artwork that suggests casual and everyday interaction can be what triggers the sweetness of a sculpture, the sweetness of an object in our urban landscape is kind of a rare thing. And I can say in South Florida, we don't have any such object anywhere around. So for me, that's what turned me on there. I make a lot of work with botanicals, flowers, because that usually does that for me. Almost all of us have a weakness for beauty that is shared. This particular sculpture offers something else. It offers communing, talking, whispering. Whispering is actually is the proper verb here, because you whisper something softly. You whisper something intimately. You whisper something that you wish your listener catches every syllable and every tone. I really like the sculpture. I think it will be an object that functions quite differently and complementary with every other objects we have in the collection. But also, what is also missing on Miracle Mile. I mean, we have a lot of cars, we have a lot of people, but we don't have a lot of points of rest on Miracle Mile. Sure, there are benches, and technically this is a glorified bench and double chair, but this offers something a little extra. So that is my general guidance. It would only enrich this landscape to have a similar work.
Thank you. Okay. Walk me through, I know you walked a little bit through it in your presentation, the process to get here and sort of how, you're coming here with one proposal and, I don't think anybody questions the stature of the artist or her reputation and whatnot, but from my seat, I have to make a decision on spending $300,000 on something, which is a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I guess my question is, did you guys review multiple proposals from multiple artists? Is that something that, again, appreciating the board's work, that we would have an opportunity to look at what those options were? Because my thing is just I'm sitting here and I'm only being presented one option and it has a significant price tag that I have to be vigilant about. And I'd just like to understand what else was considered. And I don't know, I apologize, you may have covered it, but what exactly, how did you guys as a board kind of get to the one artwork that you're here today with? And what else was considered and what other options are there? Because I'd like to just understand, again, this is one of these things where, hey, if this is a beautiful piece of art and if it was free, this wouldn't even be a question, but there's a price tag on it. And because there's a price tag on it, and I don't just mean the artwork, but everything that goes along with it, the installation, the material, et cetera, we have to discuss what the options are as well, right? Like what else was considered and what else went through the process to get to the board. So can you kind of walk me through that a little bit?
So it actually stemmed from when we were searching for an artist for Art Basel last year. So we looked at, and the panel looked at numerous artists at that time. And then they narrowed it down to two artists, Janine Antony and George Sanchez Calderon, who were both given the same opportunity to present a proposal for permanent work, which is what the commission has been directing us to seek out rather than just temporary pieces. So since the piece was so enthusiastically embraced at that time, and the commissioners at that time also expressed interest in it, and you said how much you liked it, we brought it back and gave her the opportunity to expand upon that proposal, rework it a little bit, talk more about where it could be.
But what you just said, it's funny you said that because that was my recollection as well. I remember there was a couple of different artists
Yes.
that we were talking about.
Yes.
And
Well, those were tied with our Art Basel event.
yes.
And both as the temporary unveiling of it, but also we've had note over the years that acquiring work is also part of the goal. So this is how this came to be.
And we do have the upcoming
Did you have both?
opportunity.
Did you subsequently, I guess my question is, even going back to that commission meeting, there was at least two that were being discussed at the time.
Yes. Yes, the other
Both
artist
go
chose.
through this process and then the board decided on one versus the other? Like, that's what I'm trying to
The other
understand.
artist chose not to propose a permanent artwork. He chose to only propose temporary.
Work.
So there was only one work ultimately that was submitted for a permanent.
Correct, yes. And now we have the upcoming opportunity for, I think, the $250,000 opportunity for a regional South Florida artist to do a permanent work that we will be releasing an RFQ on shortly.
And a scenario that we hope to get at least 5 or 6, maybe 10 artists to consider at one point and maybe pare it down to something, the best choice anyway.
Yeah, listen, I just have a hard time with being presented with one option with that kind of cost associated. That's where I'm struggling with a little bit. Because again, if you
And just for clarification, code does allow the commission, the city to do direct selections, which we've done in the past
Do
too.
what? I'm
So
sorry?
the city, our code does allow us to do direct selections of work and/or artists, which we have done before. So it is not outside of the scope of the program and what's allowable by code.
I mean, additionally, I know you're phrasing it, you have one choice, but that's only in this moment. Technically, this is a process that's been happening for a year. So within a larger temporality, many other works was considered, and that has to be the process within which the advisory panel make recommendation to the community board, who makes recommendation to you and get back to it. So we are at this terminal point. It may seem like it's only one thing, but this work did quite literally come from a process that you approved of. So it's many other things were considered, and
Sure,
was given
and I appreciate that. Listen,
Yeah,
I
of
really
course.
do. But this is the last part of that process.
Indeed.
And it is part of that process.
It is this is the part where
So
a pill must be swallowed.
yeah, exactly. So, and again, my recollection was when we talked about it the first time, there was multiple, and so now I didn't realize that one had kind of not submitted anything. So,
As a question that I can take back to the advisory board panel, is it more comfortable for your decision-making to be presented multiple works in this scenario to consider? Or?
I mean, it is for me. I can't speak for my colleagues, right? Like
I'm speaking only for you.
Yeah, with the cost, again, there was another item today that got deferred, which didn't go through this process and was another thing altogether. I recognize that, but it was being donated. There was only installation costs. That's a different conversation, obviously. Again, this is a $300,000 expense, and while I recognize it comes from the art fund, and that's an important distinction, I think it's just like if you said, here, Vice Mayor, here's $300,000. You can go out and buy any artwork in the world right now with that budget. But I'm only being presented with one option. So that's where I'm having a tough time myself. So that's just my thought,
Yeah, I'm in a hearing right now.
my concern a little bit is.
I must say, Vice Mayor, the metaphor is slightly off. It is akin to someone saying, here's Vice Mayor, here's $300,000 to go buy an artwork, but you already sent Catherine and I to go shop on your behalf. And
Sure.
so this is what we came back with.
And that's where I get back to having options.
Right.
And that's why.
And when I last spoke with the shoppers, there was 2 things on the table, and now there's only 1, right? So I'm just saying, I appreciate that, and listen, the last thing I ever want to do is waste your time or anybody's time, you know,
It's not the
at all. I'm respectful of your time, I'm respectful of the artist, you know, this is a tremendous artist with a tremendous reputation. All I'm saying is, my role here is not as art critic or anything like that. It's as we kind of control the purse, right? We have to now commit to expending these dollars.
And I think that's why we have the Arts Advisory Panel process and Cultural Development process, who then makes that recommendation to you. So we feel that we followed the process through code. And then we do have another opportunity coming up that typically, and this is a standard process, we will be releasing it widely. We won't know which artists are going to respond. And then that list will be pared down to a number of artists that will be asked to present proposals. Those proposals, which typically are maybe 3 to 5 people, will come to the arts panel, they'll come to the cultural board, and the cultural board will ultimately make a recommendation, one recommendation, back to the commission.
So can I make a quick comment? I mean, we had, what was it, the polls that we had to look at, we had 2, 3 options to look at, you know, those with the cameras on them and the Wi-Fi. I think that's what we're looking for is, you know, have a selection of 2, 3 options with the recommendations and with the report. As far as the piece, I mean, it's a lovely piece, but I would not put it on the corner of Lejeune and Coral Way. I mean, if you were going to put it in that park, there is going to be a yellow poinsettia coming in for Arbor Day, along with a pollinator garden on the opposite corner. The mile has many locations that would be conducive to a whispering conversation, but the noise of the cars on Lejeune would prohibit that. It would be a yelling conversation between 2 people on that stone. So Those are my comments.
Yeah, you stole my joke. So, yeah. If
Okay,
too
for
close to
once,
legit-
for
yes,
once
too-
I did.
Yeah, yeah, that was good. You're picking up my humor. When you were mentioning that's why you go shop for the vice mayor, but that's also why you keep the receipt, because you never know when, that's not necessarily what we feel is the proper purchase or the proper acquisition. I'm glad the vice mayor and you all it's important for the public to understand that where the funds are coming from, because I don't want anyone to be confused that's coming from our general funds. That's an important distinction. But I agree with, so far that it'd be good for us going forward to have, a couple options so that we can have I think, a healthy discussion. I think the piece is very nice. I love the concept of bringing people together, having conversations. We try to push that concept, that idea in our community, so it's well in line with that. But I do echo, my concerns going forward on what we would like to see to make it, like I said, a more vibrant conversation.
So, Mayor, unless you have anything
I
to say,
like
I'm
the
gonna.
piece.
I like the piece too.
I like the piece. There is a process. We had this discussion when we had the flowers, remember? And at that time, I said, I don't think we should be the judges up here of beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I'm not an artist. I'm not a person that, I don't feel that my particular view should prevail. I would rather have the experts, the people that do this, that look at all the options, that come to an agreement, 8-0 for me, people that are really experts in this, that have looked at all the options, that have found a great artist, and come to us and say, this is the one we think you should get. I go with that. I don't want to make the choice. I wouldn't want you to come in with two different pieces and say, you choose which one. No, I would rather have you all, that's why we have the board, to make those choices and come, here's why we think you should take this one over the other one. I don't think that this should be in a place that's very noisy. I don't think it should be where there's a lot of cars. If you're going to have a whispering, it ought to be in a place that's quiet where you can come and have that conversation. I would not have it on Miracle Mile. People going up and down on their bikes and the roller skates and making all that racket. No, it's got to be in some place that's quiet. But I like the piece. I think the process worked. It's not the taxpayer money. It's the money that's coming from the developers. Somebody has to make a choice. We have your group to help us make that choice. You've made a recommendation. I would go with your recommendation. That's my view.
So I have a lot of respect for the artists. Their CV is exceptional. They're represented by one of the most important galleries in the world, in the private collections of many serious collectors throughout the world, and in the homes, along with the museums, which I think carry a lot of weight in regards to this artist's pedigree. I understand, art is very subjective. People have their interpretations and their views of the work. When you come to my house, you'll probably see some works of art that you'll wonder why it's hanging up on my wall. I see this work as being very conceptual in nature. Leaves you with a lot of opportunity to interpret the work. I don't think you're going to make everybody happy in regards to art. To find an artwork that gives you a 10 out of 10 is very, very difficult, where everybody finds it to sit down and say, I love this work. I think it's very difficult, and I think it'll never happen. But I think the city of Coral Gables is setting the bar really high in regards to bringing forth exceptional artwork. We're the envy of every city in Miami-Dade County. And I think we have an opportunity to bring something different, but I agree with some of the comments of my colleagues in regards to the location. I don't think the location works.
And the artist is very open and flexible to working
I
with
think the
us on
location doesn't
that.
work because it's a noise. And I also think we need to be very careful with these works. Because let me give you an example. This is going to be actually interactive work. We have those sculptures on Giralda. If you come close to those sculptures, those marble sculptures in Giralda, people are stepping on them. They're actually like drawing on them. I hate to say this, but we're going to have to potentially corner those off so people don't interact with them as much as they are. And I'd like to see if maybe you can report back to the commission with like a status update in regards to those sculptures, because we want to protect them.
Yeah, we're happy to.
I would like to see that. So, I mean, I like the artwork. I think it's interesting.
It is.
I think it's something that, could complement the many artworks that we have here in the city. You're talking about an internationally acclaimed artist. I think it's important to give, some people may look at a Von Span, they may look at a Tony Craig, they may look at a work by Thomas Hausago and wonder, what is that? And I accepted that a long time ago. You're not going to make everybody happy. Just do your best and bring forth artists that you think are at a level that is respectable and that have a pedigree and have a CV that, when you make that decision, that tough decision, like the vice mayor was saying, we're spending this much money, that you feel comfortable that you're making, and I hate to use this word in correlation with art, but you're making an investment. You're making an investment in a work that has a proven track history and trajectory.
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Commissioner Kaysen?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mena?
No.
Commissioner Menendez?
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson?
No.
Mayor Lago?
Yes.
Thank you.
And that's why politics, art, sometimes they don't mix, but
No, I like it.
I
just
respect,
like
you know what
us-
I respect? I respect that my colleagues on the commission are moving forward and making those tough decisions. I voted no on a piece of art a long time ago that has not been installed yet. It's a building that has not been built. It's on Ponce. And I don't think it falls in line with, there's no CV, there's no strength. And I want the arts board, along with the commission, to put people on notice that we want the best. We want the best work to come here, because at the end of the day, when we're gone, we want people to come to the city and to come and enjoy the best art. And I'll tell you, when we were inaugurating the Tony Craig work for Art Basel, there was a lot of collectors that came from all over the world. And they said, wow, we're impressed. We're reading about what's coming to the city of Coral Gables in regards to the caliber of work, and no other city is doing that. So we're talking about internationally renowned artists that are doing exceptional things. Minorities, female artists.
And again, I respect the process, and by the way, I love what we're doing in terms of the overall program. There's a lot of pieces that I love. My issue here is, again, I'd like to have seen a different process, and maybe I'm not a fan of the direct process. When we talked about it, my understanding was there was 2 artists following in the track, and I only found out for this meeting that there was not one. As a broader comment, and just in terms of feedback generally now, not about this, I would like to see some diversity as well, not only in terms of the artists, but in terms of the genre of art. I think as long as I've been here, exclusively done contemporary art installations that I know of, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think there's room for a lot of variation there, and I think we have residents who enjoy more classical pieces and others that enjoy contemporary. And I think there's room for both. And I think when you go to most metropolitan cities, you see a little bit of both, in the art, in the architecture, in the everything. And so I'd just like to see as well a little bit more just diversity in what we pursue.
There's a little teaser. I think you will be seeing something coming up.
Okay.
Great.
Last comment. Mine was, my no vote was as to the only one option. And I have heard a lot of comments from residents as to, why not some more of the traditional pieces, more historically, like have fit in with the city, and would like to see some local artists as well.
But we're working on
We have some great local artists.
We're going to be presenting that, and that's one of the items that our friend here brought to me and said, listen, we're going to be putting forth a search for local artists to find the best. But I want to put on your radar, since we are here in the sunshine, take this opportunity. I presented Catherine with 2 opportunities for the future that I'm working on. One of them is a monumental sculpture by Louise Nevelson, an exceptional female artist who's getting incredible attention now. And we're working on presenting a work by Frank Stella, and we've been talking back and forth. We've been having meetings with different gallerists, and we want to present that to the commission forthcoming, along with this search for local artists. So there's going to be a commitment to ensuring that we continue to do small works, 150,000, 200,000. But I also want to make sure that we make monumental purchases.
Agree with you.
Monumental purchase. Frank Stella is probably the most important living artist outside of Richard Serra, Naoya Kusama. But these are giants.
Why is he echoing?
So, to make a long story short, I think we saw democracy in action here today. And I think we're going to see a great work come to the city. Yes, Commissioner.
I just want to add that I, personally thank the Cultural Development Board for at least, coming forward with a strong vote. So their will, their thoughts, their opinion, their decision was a firm vote. And that, to me, was very important, because as a commissioner, I appreciate when the advisory boards, the different boards come and, let us know clearly their position. It makes our job a little bit easier. And again, going forward, I'd like all the comments to be taken into consideration. It's a lovely piece, like I mentioned before, and I'm glad it got approved, but I'm glad we're going to move forward and make things better.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you for your hard work. I'm going to take a 5-minute break to go to the bathroom and make phone. Thank you.
What was the item number? H1.
Record.
Yeah, fácil. Moving on to item F1.
F1 is an ordinance of the City Commission providing for text amendments to the City of Coral Gables Official Zoning Code, Article 10, Parking, Section 10-109, Payment in lieu, and Remote Off-Street Parking to revise remote parking and payment in lieu processes, requirements, and fee structure, providing for severability clause, repeated provision, codification, and providing for an effective date.
Good morning, Jennifer Garcia. Can we read all three into the record, just for?
Yes, since F1, F2, and F6 are related, F2 is an ordinance of the City Commission providing for text amendments to the Code of the City of Coral Gables, Chapter 74, Article 3, Division 5, entitled Parking Replacement Assessment, providing for updates to the assessment provisions and procedures, and providing for severability clause, repeated provision, codification, and providing for an effective date. F6 is a resolution of the City Commission amending Resolution 2013-256 to clarify remote parking and payment in lieu fees in accordance with the City Code, Chapter 74, Traffic and Vehicles, Article 3, Stopping, Standing, and Parking, Division 5, Parking Replacement Assessment, providing for severability and providing for an effective date. And we can consolidate the items for purposes of the public hearing.
Thank you, Madam City Attorney.
So since first reading, we've only had one change to the actual text amendment. That's to clarify that there has to be some kind of shown in feasibility or impracticability of providing that remote parking and qualifying that as being able to pay the payment in lieu afterward. That was pretty common sense, but that was just clarified in the zoning code. And then the other thing that we put into the ordinance is for the city code, and staff recommending that any project that has right now, effective date today, or if adopted, that it'll be preliminary Board of Architects approval.
So can I ask you a quick question in
Yes.
regards to that? So I got calls from 3 different architects who told me, is there going to be a cutoff date for this preliminary approval? When is it? Is it?
Drafted right now, it'd be today, but as I remember last time we asked how many projects are in the pipeline, there are 3. One has not really applied for Board of Architects yet. I think they're waiting on some changes to the code that they want to take advantage of. There's 2 that are scheduled for this Thursday, and they want to take advantage of the remote parking.
Okay, so my question to you is this is simple. You know, if you've gone through this whole process and you've bought a piece of property, let me get it. Oh, you're the best. Thank you very much. Thank you, Solange. If you have bought a piece of property, you have hired an architect, hired an engineer, a litany of different consultants, you've already embarked in the process, you've submitted to the city, you've spent potentially over $1 million, $2 million on a project, you're moving down a certain direction. You don't have Board of Architecture approval. Basically, your project, to me, it looks like has to take a significant step back once you've already been moving in a direction for 6 months to a year. I agree that there has to be a cutoff point. There should always be a bookend, beginning and an end, an alpha and omega. But there has to be, in my opinion, while you're trying to work things through, the process takes time. We all deal with residents, we all deal with business owners that are in the permitting process. And, you may have 3, 4. I have a resident right now I'm working on that's had 5 reviews, in regards to one discipline. So to get a final approval, you're under the gun. I think that it should be what they submitted for. They submitted to the Board of Architecture. and they haven't gotten that approval just yet, there's been intent that that's where they're headed. And I think that it should be, the cutoff point should be that they submit it to the board.
But Mayor, if somebody has gone through 5 reviews, it would still be grandfathered in because they have submitted an application. The problem with just submitting anything is you could submit anything and get a date and do that.
But I'll give you, my last point on that was, you can't submit everything because the cutoff point would be January 24th.
Today.
So today is the last cutoff. If you haven't submitted by January 24th, you can't. So you can't go and submit. I would not want to rush, people submitting things on a napkin. Let me submit this. Your cutoff point realistically would.
As you know, that's what would happen.
Yeah, no, I'm saying, but your cutoff point would have been yesterday. So to me, anybody who has taken and made the effort to spend money to hire a team of consultants and has submitted to the Board of Architecture last month, 6 months ago, and is still working through the process for one reason or another. We all know how difficult it is right now in regards to consultants, how busy architects are, engineers, contractors, very difficult right now. And how staff is overwhelmed, the amount of projects, the amount of people trying to push things through. There's a lot of things. Look at the lists for review in different boards. You know this better than anybody. So to me, I think the cutoff point should be January 24th. Today or yesterday, January 23rd, whatever that may be, and it's submission to BOA, not final approval, because people are still working through the process. Because when you go to BOA, honestly, how many times does a project get approval on the first time it goes to BOA?
Very rarely.
Very rarely, right? So you have sometimes 2-3 times. You take those recommendations, you make the changes, and then you move forward. That's my opinion. I don't know if anybody agrees. I'm more than willing, like always, to listen to people's opinions and advice.
Last time, the first reading, I had talked about 90 days, and then I understand that if we do a 90 days to make it effective, that folks can just throw projects in. But what the mayor's suggestion seems a lot cleaner. My biggest concern for anything we do here, and could be anybody, whatever's going on, is to tweak or change the rules when people are in midstream of a process. And that muddies the waters, and also is an undue burden on anyone who's already, filed and, like the mayor said, spent money. So I'd like to find a clean cutoff. And the fact, Madam City Attorney, so whatever we pass here, is it automatically effective today, or is it something that we would have to specify?
It's up to you all. Typically, our ordinances are effective on the date of adoption.
Yeah.
Unless you decide to change that.
Yeah, because I think, in terms of fairness, to have a clean cutoff where you know where everyone stands, I think is the right thing to do.
Yeah, I agree. And thank you for coming back with a proposal. I think it makes sense what you're suggesting, but I also understand what the mayor is saying in terms of if they already submitted and they don't have the approval yet, they'd have to basically their submission would basically be, they'd have to start all over almost. I don't want to say start all over, but they'd have to make significant changes.
No, in this case, Vice Mayor, they wouldn't start over again. This has nothing to do with the project. It's a fee.
Right.
So it doesn't affect the actual project. But I think if we look at legitimate submittals up to now, I think that would be fair.
Right.
So we have
You're telling me it's very limited implication anyways, because we're only talking about 2 or 3 applicants. So I'm comfortable with what the mayor is suggesting, to just make it anything that's been submitted as of today.
For the city, and I apologize, Commissioner, just a question for the city attorney. So if that's the will of the commission, and I know 2 of our colleagues haven't spoken yet, we would amend what's before us?
So there's language in the operative clauses of the ordinance that currently it says that applications for review that have received preliminary BOA approval by the adoption of this ordinance shall be vested applications. So we would have to change that so that applications for review or the projects that have been submitted, we can just tweak the language to make it submitted for BOA review. If that's appropriate, Jennifer, we would. If that's going to be the motion, it would be to change it.
I would make it as of yesterday.
Yep.
Okay.
As of yesterday. Yeah.
Perfect.
As of January 23rd.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I just want to make sure that people understand this does not affect the building code.
Right.
The building code requires final Board of Architects approval to actually grandfather the building code in. So this would be strictly for the zoning aspect of the project.
Perfect. Okay. Can I get a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
1 second. 1 second.
Mr. Mayor, we have a member of the public requesting to speak. Is Mr. Rip Holmes.
Mr. Holmes, thank you for being with us.
Honorable Mayor and Commission, city employees, new Commissioner, Mr. Kaysen. First, I want to thank you for the general tenor of these, I'll just call it amendment for lack of a better word. In the downtown, you know, I hate to use an analogy that may seem like a stretch to you, but if it's your money, you can see why I would use this analogy. Let's just say on Miracle Mile or any merchant in the city is walking through the Sahara Desert, and the water necessary to life is parking. And the reason that that is so is that we have competition in South Miami, in Miami, at Dadeland, throughout the county, Aventura, depending on where people are coming in from, let's say South America. Please remember, actually, I know it's a stretch, but that's the thing that comes to mind. I mean, even with my own property, no parking, no tenant, no income. Thank you for listening. I urge you to err on the side of parking. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second on F1.
Vice Mayor Mena,
Yes.
Commissioner Menendez,
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Kaysen,
Yes,
Mayor Lago.
Yes, moving on to F2. Can I get a motion?
I make a motion.
Second.
Commissioner Menendez,
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Kaysen,
Yes,
Vice Mayor Mena.
Point of clarification, did we need to make the same amendment to F2?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so I just want to specify that the motion
includes that.
would include the same amendment. Okay.
Very, very good point, Vice Mayor. Okay.
If so, I'm a yes.
Mayor Lago.
Yes. Moving on to F3, we need a motion and we need a clarification also to amend.
No, it's F6, Mr. Mayor.
I'm sorry, excuse me, F6, I apologize.
I make a motion.
Second.
Also to include the clarification and the amendment.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Kaysen,
Yes,
Vice Mayor Mena,
Yes.
Commissioner Menendez,
Yes.
Mayor Lago.
Yes. Thank you for your hard work on this. Thank you so much. Moving on to F3.
F3 is an ordinance of the City Commission providing for text amendments to the City of Coral Gables Official Zoning Code, Article 3 Uses, Section 3-315, Restaurant Open-Air Dining at Ground Level and Other Location, by removing FAR requirements for rooftop dining, providing for severability clause, repealer provision, codification, and providing for an effective date.
Are there any changes?
No changes.
No changes? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move it.
Second.
Mr. Clerk, can you just confirm there are no speakers?
No speakers on this item, ma'am.
Thank you, Madam City Attorney.
Commissioner Kaysen,
yes,
Vice Mayor Mena,
Yes.
Commissioner Menendez,
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Mayor Lago.
Yes. Moving on to F4.
F4 is an ordinance of the City Commission providing for text amendments to the City of Coral Gables Official Zoning Code, Article 2, Zoning District, Section 2-101, Single Family Residential District, amending performance standards for ground area coverage by deleting required covenant and providing for severability clause, repealer provision, codification, and providing for an effective date.
Also no changes.
Thank you very much. Do we have any public comment?
No, sir.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Mr. Clerk?
Vice Mayor Mena,
Yes.
Commissioner Menendez,
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Kaysen,
Yes,
Mayor Lago.
Yes. Moving on to F5, ordinances on first reading. Thank you very much.
F5 is an ordinance of the City Commission amending the City Code, Chapter 1, General Provisions, Section 1-7, entitled Penalties, to include additional penalties for violations of Section 74-3, entitled Riding of Bicycles upon pedestrian sidewalks generally, providing for repealer provision, severability clause, codification, and providing for an effective date. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to introduce you to Barbara Rodriguez. She's a third-year law student at St. Thomas University, and she's completing an externship with our office this semester. Also, Chief Hudak is available to answer questions, and Barbara will be presenting the ordinance that she helped draft, and also Assistant City Attorney Stephanie Throckmorton will also be available for questions.
Ms. Rodriguez, welcome to the City Beautiful. Thank you for joining us. We're blessed to have you.
Thank you. Good morning, Mayor, Commissioners, and City Attorney. My name is My name is Barbara Rodriguez, and I am a legal intern in the City Attorney's Office. This ordinance we are presenting today has to do with adding a fine for violating Section 74-3 of the City Code, which currently prohibits the riding of bicycles upon the pedestrian sidewalks on Miracle Mile and where posted. The current fine for violating this section is $35, which is the general penalty for violations of Chapter 74. Given that there has been several complaints regarding prohibited bicycle riding on Miracle Mile on the sidewalks, which violates the city code, we ask that in order to increase deterrence, the city wishes to add a specific increased penalty for this violation. The penalties would be, for the first violation, a $75 fine, for the second violation, a $150 fine, and for the third or subsequent violations, a $250 fine.
Can I ask you, what's the definition of a bicycle in terms of this? Anything with wheels? Because there's all kinds of new things that are coming out. I always watch this program, Shark Tank, and I'm always amazed at the new things people come up with to scoot around with, round things, square things. So bicycle has usually, you think, two wheels, but there are things that have one wheel, four wheels, six wheels. I mean, so what is the definition?
I'm not sure our code has a definition of bicycle. We can verify that, but state law certainly does. And there's even been some recent case law defining motorized bicycles versus bicycles that we can certainly look at. But this would have to do with human-powered bicycles, which is normally how those are defined by electrical or human power.
Right.
Is a
Even if
bicycle.
as long as it's pedaled, it's considered a
Anything
bicycle.
with wheels?
Well, no, if it's pedaled, so you can have four wheels, and if it's pedaled, or three
If it's
wheels,
if it's electric?
it's a tricycle. If the electric is started by the pedaling, it's almost like an assisted motor, it's considered a bicycle. If there is no pedals, like a scooter, it is considered a vehicle.
So I can maybe help you out with that, because I already asked staff to start working on the scooter ordinance. And I understand we have other things with wheels, such as rollerblades and skateboards and all the other kind of fun stuff, because we don't want another incident where we have pedestrians coming out with coffee in hand, not seeing, the scooter or the bicyclist coming down Miracle Mile and getting a serious injury. These penalties, even as increased pale, compared to the amount of pain and suffering that a particular resident had to go through as a result of that. But I'd also like to consider Ponce, because Ponce has
I believe
high density in a number of storefronts.
I believe that multiple blocks of Ponce, north and south of Miracle Mile, are posted already prohibiting, especially where the sidewalks are very narrow there, that it already is posted there, but we can verify with the parking director exactly which streets are posted, but I believe it's at least 3 blocks north and south of Miracle Mile on Ponce are also posted as well.
Okay, so.
These have to be posted. If it's not posted, you can.
So if it's not posted, this is a city ordinance, so it has to be posted by the city for us to write that citation through the city. This is the only part where it's restricted within the city, where a bicycle cannot be, and again, if there's no designated bike lane on the street, they could be on a sidewalk. The only place it's prohibited is, I believe it's 3 or 4 blocks north and south on Ponce, Giralda, and Miracle Mile. So this is where we would be. I know the question's going to come up, but since December 3rd, I've got 2 members of the bike unit, Major Boblitz is here as well. We've encountered 40 people on bicycles. We are charting it now, or any bike violations, we kind of write them. The reason before you today is because of our computer system, we're able to check 1, 2, 3 times if somebody got from a warning and we know it's a habitual offender, it could go up to $250, and it's kind of worth our while as far as what we can do to collect, that our employees are taking time to do this. Starting at 75 is somewhat similar to what the violation of a pedestrian walk against the white hand or the red is $77 by the state. So it starts off at that area. We have seen a decrease, and I've got 2 of my subject matter experts out there that people are starting to heed what it is. This week for the state, we're actually have an educational process going on about pedestrian and bicycle safety on Miracle Mile throughout.
Are these tend to be younger sort of kids, or are these delivery people?
The delivery people, because it's their business, have gotten very good at stopping, parking in between the parked cars, running in, running out. Similar to the scooters. The scooters now know not to even go on the sidewalk because they're getting moving citations. The afternoon shift, I believe, Officer Medina, you've seen some of those on afternoon shift where the kids usually coming to and from school, buzzing around, as Commissioner Anderson said. Sometimes it's the motorized skateboards. We know we haven't had any issues with the rented birds because they stop going on there. The personal owned ones, those would be the citations that we would write under this as well.
I have, because I received, I'm sure everybody received some emails that regarding this item. And, you know, some of the emails try to specify that, you know, we're responding to some bad actors, but it's not really a good actor versus bad actor. It's basically, I would imagine, any cyclist, if you go where Barnes and Nobles is very busy, whether they're careful or not, someone's going to come out of a store, someone's going to come out of their car, and it's a formula for an accident, an injury. I mean, I think not that long ago, there was someone who got hit by a bicycle and did not survive the impact.
Correct.
So I don't think, you know, and I understand the concern because this is not an anti-bicycle. This is not an anti-mobility issue. It's really just a safety issue for our residents and the folks that visit our downtown. Could you clarify, just I think because we've talked about so many issues, first off, so this affects Miracle Mile?
So the current section, so we're not amending the code at all. This is really only increasing the penalty section that applies to that code. And so we'll defer to Barbara as well, but it's riding of bicycles upon pedestrian sidewalks generally on Miracle Mile and where posted. So where posted, I believe, as the chief explained, 3 or 4 blocks north and south of Miracle Mile on Ponce, and Miracle Mile and Giralda are where are currently posted, and those postings, and I can ask the parking director to clarify, prohibits scooters, bicycles, and skateboards all at once, or what the postings are. This code provision is specific to bicycles, but those are the areas that are posted, and this is merely increasing the penalty. The prohibition remains in place.
And then the first citation dollar amount for anyone who...
75.
75.
Which is consistent with a pedestrian. So, I mean, look, we are trying to harmonize pedestrians, scooters, bicyclists, cars, tractor trailers, all in the same downtown district area. If somebody should not ride on this sidewalk, they are legally entitled to ride on the street, but they don't want to. Yeah. The same way that pedestrians walking don't want the bikes to ride on the sidewalk. Right. So the legality of everything is if everybody stays in their lane, no pun intended, we would be fine. And if pedestrians would wait for the white hand because that starts the traffic back up because they're going against it. And the officers will tell you the same. I mean, Officer Medina was on his bike yesterday, day before yesterday, sitting waiting to cross the light, and people just walk right by us. Yeah. And this is where, and I understand, when we start writing these tickets, everybody, you know, starts calling you all and calling me, like we have nothing better to do. To your point, commissioners, you know, we have people get run over all the time. And I'm not a physics professor, but when it comes to cars, bikes never win on those accidents. And pedestrians don't win with bike accidents. And we've seen that on the mile. So I think the collection of the issue, whatever, I just think we need to have something a little bit more sturdier for our officers to do this. Because it isn't even so much the bike rider or the skateboarder. If they're young and nimble to that effect, they're not going to get as injured as somebody who is looking at their phone, walking out of a bridal shop or a shoe, and they get waffled or they get hit the door. You know, those people of that age, you know, my age, may not survive that.
Yeah.
So,
And to go, Commissioner Mayor Casons, a question about age. So since I would imagine a lot of these people, a lot of them are minors, in terms of citation, what's the procedure? Is there a distinction between giving a citation to someone, I guess, 18 and older, or someone who's 14 or 15?
I was thinking about how we could do this, and if we had a juvenile, okay, and I know the city attorney's office, I really haven't explained this to them yet. However, we have a process right now. So if one of my officers writes an under 18-year-old driver a ticket or a warning, the parents get a letter personally from me about that. So I think what we can do on these citations, if we can get this into our new CAD system that you all have approved, we should probably generate letters from my office that says your son or daughter was written a $75 civil citation from the city of Coral Gables on this and this date, and go to the house, because we can get the address from them. Whether we can collect or not, but we have seen, and when my daughters were of that age, there was a lot of their friends' parents were getting letters from me. It does make them aware that we're having those issues for the kids, and I think that would be something that we can look at. Right now, every time an officer writes a citation on our computer system, that letters pop up from our record section. I literally sign them just to see who it is, and they get it wherever they go, even if they're not in Coral Gables. So I think we can do something like that from part of the educational process for the kids. The adults,
Yeah, that's a different story.
Excuse me, how often do you get somebody 2 or 3 times? How effective is the $35 versus, and how much more effective will $75 be at educating them that they shouldn't be doing it?
how many repeat offenders, Officer DeLeon, have you come across on the bikes? The juveniles usually come back. The adults, the other issue we have is, like, these are 2 of my officers on bikes, so they can kind of run them down. It's not pretty when we have to stop somebody buzzing by us on a bicycle. We are not allowed to close arm people. We can try and detain them, but that's really the only way you can stop somebody buzzing by you, because then it becomes an issue. We had an issue which was turned into an officer trying to stop somebody on a bicycle on a sidewalk. Where we had to physically have a physical confrontation outside of Books on Books because of that issue, and there was litigation and whatnot, and claims of abuse by the officers. So the stopping of them, this is why we've talked about increasing the size of the downtown unit with more bikes, more motorcycles, type of patrols down there, because we're able to enforce these things. I will tell you, I just left a state this week, and I was amazed how many people wait for the crosswalk lights to let you go. It was unique.
So my question is, the logic behind raising, or presumably part of the logic behind raising the penalty on the first instance in particular, is that that's going to be a bigger deterrent, I presume. But I don't, is that true? If the innocent person who's just decided to go for a bike ride today, they don't even realize you can, maybe they didn't see the sign, whatever. I'd like to have an opportunity for that person to either get a warning or be at a more reasonable level like they are now. And then, but I do agree that on the repeat offenders, that there should be a stiffer penalty, because now you clearly know.
Well, we can start at, we can start at 30, whatever it is now, 35. We can start at 35 and then go right to 100 and 200. I mean, because now you already, I'm okay with us low. I mean, I kind of recommended 75 because the state fine for pedestrian violations is about $77.
Yeah.
Right? Of which we get a small fraction of through the whole disbursements, that we being the city. I'm fine with starting, because they do give them warnings. Hey, if we don't see it again, we can document the fact that they were given a warning. Start at 35, then you can jump it to 100, and you can jump it to 200.
I think that's fair.
Because if it's a delivery person,
right.
I don't want to take 100%. Forever. Yeah, I'd rather.
Listen, I've seen Uber Eats on Vespas, kind of doing 3-point turns on the sidewalk, you know, like
Yeah.
you know, you know, unless you have a guy standing right there, they're gonna get, you know, you can't catch everybody, right?
No, but I think that it does, and the bike officers will tell you, they know when I eat lunch in my car around the mile, because after I drive around a couple of times and I go down the alleys, I completely, and again, we've increased the fines on the alleyways, or about 126, because it is that much of an issue. So I think we can start off lower.
Yeah, my gut is to, again, the first time, and again, you're telling me that you guys don't have a problem tracking this.
No, once the officers actually stop them. So what we started doing when we started to address the issue last time is the officers that are working it take a different signal, which is 13 bike violations. So we are charting specifically. So once that officer puts the information of the individual that they stop, because they have to provide identification, then it's already in the system, in our system as a name. So if they were to run it, it would come up, they got stopped on such and such a day by this officer. We get everything in our record system.
So my gut would be to make the first violation, which you currently have at 75, leave it at the same 35, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then for repeats, you have it escalate. That just because, again, I don't think the objective of this is to severely penalize the first time sort of innocent offender, if you will, but to, you know, when people already know and they're still doing it anyways, then I think you have more standing to have a stiffer penalty.
Understood. And currently, the code doesn't have an escalating fine at all, so it's only $35. So I'm hearing 35, 100, and 250. Is that what I heard?
35.
What do you current? Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
I mean,
So what were the numbers?
what was it that was proposed? 75 and then what?
75, 150, 250.
Okay, so yeah, do it 35, 100, 200.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that better. 100, 200, yeah.
Then I guess my other question is little kids, right, with parents. Like, we're talking about now little kids, not high school kids or, like, I'm talking about little kids.
I don't see us.
We're not ticketing. I mean, I think it's just a discretion of the officer at that point.
Officers will always retain their discretion.
Yeah, we're pretty, listen. I think
that's
for
not
the
what we're
most
trying
part,
to
everybody
preclude.
You guys
listens.
are very sensitive to that.
Yeah.
We're not going after tricycles and little bikes with training wheels and.
And the scooter thing, by the way, you know, the geofencing they've put in place is very effective.
Yes.
Very much so.
And by the way, as an aside, I haven't seen scooters around that much lately. Is that like done or?
We only have one company
Yeah.
currently operating. One has left the
Yeah.
city in the pilot program. So we're looking at the RFP
But that's just their
process,
own
but-
sort of business decision,
Yes,
you know.
business
right.
decision made by the corporate companies.
Yeah.
But yes, so we only have one company operating. I believe we increased their amount of scooters, but we are nowhere near the total.
Okay, that's
Matt-
fine. I
Matt
don't
can
want to
address that,
sidetrack
yeah.
this. It's all good. I just, general observation.
Yeah. But
That's
the
so,
fencing has been effective. The
okay, it has been, yeah, I would just point that out. So you're not going to see scooters, at least not the rental scooters whizzing on Miracle Mile. Now, if somebody owns a scooter, that's different, obviously, but they'd be subject to the same.
whole nother
No, that's a vehicle, right?
So we're working with Commissioner Anderson on amending the code violations of the scooters on sidewalks were posted as well as the other wheeled instruments, skateboards, et cetera.
So the bird scooters, we never had an incident with. The ones we were having problems with were the spin. The geofencing wasn't apparently working all the time. So, but I've never had a complaint about a bird reach me. And
I
as you
think
see,
Spin
they-
also tweaked it to, you know, the last.
They did, and they're the ones who have left the city.
Yeah,
as
exactly.
well,
It doesn't
so.
matter anyways. 'Cause,
Right, so Matt Anderson added and we worked together at the corrals where they park them, so I haven't seen the array of scooters thrown all over sidewalks like I've had in the past. I don't know if anybody else has, so I think we've made progress there.
One last quick point, observation. We have, if I'm not mistaken, bike racks on Miracle Mile. So the idea there is people can ride on the street and then park their bike there. That's not, right, parking the bike there obviously is not a problem.
Not a violation.
You could walk your bike.
Walk your bicycle.
Walk your
yeah.
bike.
You're going to a particular location.
Just a quick question. definition of this is pedestrian sidewalk. What's the difference between a sidewalk and a pedestrian sidewalk?
That has been in the code since time immemorial, so I'm not sure that it's defined anywhere in our code, but we can certainly amend that.
And in any event, the riding of bicycles is prohibited upon Miracle Mile, and then other sidewalks were posted. So it's not allowed on Miracle Mile, and then where staff has posted, which is, certain blocks on Ponds.
But pedestrian sidewalk, I'm not, it's a
Not a
term,
particular legal term or anything, it's just a.
not that I'm aware of.
The sidewalk.
Yeah, who else would be walking on a sidewalk? That's my concern.
Pets.
Oh, please don't go to dog parks.
In the underline, you'll have a bike path separated
Peacocks.
from the pedestrian sidewalk.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion.
So with that amendment, just to clarify, with the amendment?
Yep.
Thank
The
you.
amounts that Mike mentioned.
Okay, I'll second.
It's 35, 100, and 200.
Perfect. Thank you, Chief. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, we have a member of the public requesting to speak. Through Zoom is Ms. Jessica Keller.
Ms. Keller, good morning. The floor is yours.
Good morning. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Excellent. I'm glad to see that this ordinance was toned down. Thank you for talking through that. Really appreciate it. I'm interested in visiting the mile with my family. And you did talk about riding in the street is a little bit scary for some of us. I'd also like to make a suggestion that you include the existing fine on the sign. It might be helpful when people are making a decision whether they're going to break the law or not. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, my office also received additional comments on the web. Says, as a cyclist, when riding in downtown Coral Gables to shop or dine, the sidewalk is the only safe zone. It makes no sense to punish cyclists when, due to the lack of bike infrastructure, the sidewalk is the only option. The City Beautiful has a bicycle master plan to ensure safety of riders. Time to take it off the shelf. The city should be encouraging the use of bikes for their numerous benefits and ensuring the safety of cyclists instead of punishing them. That was from Christine Rupp. This ordinance is unnecessary. The few riders riding too fast on the sidewalk are usually delivery people. A $35 ticket would discourage them from riding on the sidewalk. When Miracle Mile was redesigned, it excluded bicycle infrastructure and was designed so that bike riders had to ride on the most dangerous street in the city or ride on the sidewalk. The city should be looking for a way to accommodate bike riders instead of penalizing them for riding the only safe place they can on the sidewalk. That was from John Swain. From Ms. Roberta Newey, please do not increase the penalties for biking upon pedestrian sidewalks. If someone is riding recklessly, ticket them. But if a rider or riders are being careful, give them a warning explaining that riding bikes is prohibited in this location. I realize that the city has signage, but as there are no designed bike lanes, people tend to assume it's okay to ride on the sidewalk. It's wide enough and there's little pedestrian traffic. And lastly, a message from Ms. Deborah Swain. If the desired outcome is to stop a few bad actors from riding recklessly on the sidewalk, it would seem to us that focusing enforcement of the current penalties on those few bad actors would be more effective than punitively increasing penalties on families and children trying to safely access destinations on Miracle Mile.
Here, I have a question for the chief, real simple. If someone or a family or whoever, resident, decides to ride their bike from their home to Miracle Mile for lunch, for coffee. When they get to Miracle Mile, if they get off their bike, once they're to Miracle Mile, and they walk their bike to the cafe, whatever it is, the shop, that's not a violation of what we're doing. So they can actually ride from their home to that destination and then walk their bike to their end, wherever they're going to be.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to make that clear.
The reality is the tenor, if you kind of like sparse through the letters and the feedback we got, it's really a complaint that there's a lack of bicycle infrastructure in downtown in terms of bike paths and things like that. And I understand that. I think we've talked about that in the past. We want to do more there. So I appreciate somebody saying, I don't want to ride on the street on Miracle Mile. I get it. But I don't think anybody can also with a straight face say that it's a safe and logical idea to have bicycles riding on the sidewalk with pedestrians. Like, that's a bad idea. And that's the whole point here. That's why it's not allowed. So it's not, to me, this is not intended to be anti-bicycle. I think it's just a safety issue for everybody, including the people on the bicycle. The criticism about the lack of infrastructure and that, you know, maybe it should have been done when Miracle Mile was, okay, I hear you. That's probably fair on some level. And we're going to try to do better with that as we move forward. But that has nothing to do with allowing bicycles on the sidewalk in our highest pedestrian traffic areas in terms of sidewalks in the city. That's a recipe for an accident. It's a bad idea. I think most people acknowledge that. So I think, again, we're going to focus on repeat offenders here, and I think that's more or less what, from the comments that I received, I think a reasonable compromise with the understanding that people want to see more in terms of infrastructure generally.
Correct. And I think if you look at it in the harmonization thought process of doing that, we put bollards up around the parking spaces to protect the people that are sitting out or walking along the sidewalk. When you take and I'm not disagreeing with the infrastructure for the bicycles, but when you put them on the other side of the bollards in that walked area, the people that are in greatest risk for injury are both bicyclists riding inappropriately, but also pedestrians that are coming out not expecting or expecting not to have to share any of the sidewalk in that area with somebody on a bicycle. So I think it's very much of an issue, but that's the idea, and not the idea to take kids off tricycles or anything else like that. Right. That's not the way we operate. But we just need this tool.
Couple last comments, because we are working on bicycle infrastructure, trying to add it on Andalusia. We're working with Dover Coal. It does take a while to come through with the best circulation pattern back and forth through the mobility hub. And I do frequently bike, and I frequently walk on the mile with my dogs, without my dogs. You got dining going on there, and we've had some serious injuries that have occurred as well. It would be unthinkable to me to ride the bicycle on the mile. I go half a block away, a short block, and ride on Andalusia and can cut through on the other streets, whether it's Salcedo or Ponce or other, and then walk it the rest of the way, whether it's a half a block. Usually, you're only going to be doing usually a half a block walk. You can do that, and everybody will be safe.
It's sort of what people do with their cars. You leave your house, you drive the Miracle Mile for dinner,
Right.
for lunch, you park your car, you walk to the restaurant. So there's a parallel in terms of what you just described.
Correct.
I've seen people on bikes walk their dogs on a leash, riding down the mile, 2 dogs on a leash. That's just stupid.
With the rope between the bike and the dog.
And the dog,
person walking
holding
in the
on to
middle.
that. So, I
On
mean,
the
I
mile.
can't. On the
Interesting.
mile. On the
Interesting.
mile. Yeah. I didn't do anything because nobody went to the bathroom. If they would have, I would have gotten the blue bag.
All right.
That's it.
Perfect. Thank you. So we got a motion?
Yes, sir, we do. Commissioner Menendez?
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kaysen?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mena?
Yes.
Mayor Lago?
Yes. Moving on to G1. Yes. Update on green matter and trash pits and Leon County's pilot program. Again, for the record, for the 100th time, we're not removing trash pits. But we are going to save the city millions of dollars one way or another. How are we doing today? Good, good. First off, thank you in advance for all your hard work. We're seeing a lot of progress. Let's talk trash pits. Where are we right now with this entity? And by the way, there's another company that came to see me. I sent them your way that does something very similar. And they're also going through some test runs also with different municipalities. So I know that I'd like to have an update in regards to where Recap is and what they're doing.
Certainly. So Recap, we've been communicating with them to understand what it is that their system does. Essentially, they would need a facility in order to locate what I'm going to describe as a shipping container and an operation where they would reduce clean yard waste into biochar, which is reusable in many different ways. And so in our conversations with Recap, what we've identified is that in order for a pilot with their program, they would need about 5,000 square feet. And so we have been working with them to see if there's a location within the city They came out to see our public works yard. We were able to identify that there's not currently that square footage, but we have been working with them to follow their current pilot program within Leon County and understand how that's working. Leon County started their pilot in December, so they've been about a month and a half, just under 2 months now, working on their pilot. We're waiting on their sustainability office to share their results with us. They're getting ready to put out, to publish some information on the pilot and exactly what they're doing, how it's going. We've also been working with Miami-Dade County, who has also been working, discussing with the company how they can bring a pilot program into the county. So we've been in contact with the Economic Development Department and the county to discuss how we can partner with them. Maybe the county can locate a facility in order, and how we can participate in any program that that Miami-Dade County would pilot. So we're continuing those discussions. One of the things that's underway is they are also looking from an environmental perspective at Leon County's pilot to understand environmentally whether it's something that could be permitted. They've had some good discussions about the air quality seems to be within levels that could be acceptable. And so we're continuing to follow Leon County and discussions with Miami-Dade County to see how we can participate.
Okay. In regards to finding a location, so I want to address 2 points. Finding a location, we have our facility on 72nd Avenue, which is pretty large, and then we have almost 2 acres adjacent. Is that correct? That is currently contaminated, but is not being used.
1.6 acres.
Correct.
Okay. So we do. I mean, I've been to that facility on multiple occasions. In our parking area, we do have a rather large area that we use right now, where there's a lot of debris, abandoned cars. There's a lot of things going all the way in the back. We could potentially clean that area up and use it if we have to use it, or clean up that acreage which is contaminated and use that to be able to move this pilot program. Let me tell you why I'm saying that. I'm saying that because while I have faith and confidence in Miami-Dade County, I don't have faith and confidence in how long it's going to take to get this done. And the whole point is to divert green matter from disposal through the county, which costs us millions of dollars a year. Am I correct on that?
Yes, about $1.2 million.
But every year, and it's only getting worse. It's only getting worse. So if we could somehow, some way divert that from the county, number one, we'll recycle that. It won't go into the trash, which costs us a significant amount of money, and it's also more sustainable because that product can be reused into something which, again, could serve the community. So I have faith that the county is going to do something, but I don't want to be on their timeline. I want to find out what Leon County, their findings are, and I want to move forward with doing something, either with this company or with another company. We just can't sit idly and wait for the county to come and provide us with guidance. They're not going to come. That's why I'm writing a letter to the county this week saying, I need your action on multiple fronts. We need to push the county. That's what I told the mayor when I met with her. We need to have some sort of action so we get some payback to how much do we pay the county every single year in taxes?
We pay them 32% of our taxes go to Dade County, and 36% go to the school board.
And how much of that 32% is that? 100 million?
Probably, yes. Over 100 million. The school board is 130.
So we have to be less dependent on the county. That's why we pick up our own garbage, our own recycling, we have our own police, we have our own firefighters. We have the best. So we do have a piece of land. We do have our public works department. So let's find the solution. Let's not just say we don't have the room. We do have the room. We can find it.
Mayor, I think our problem is that we do have the room except when there's a hurricane.
I know.
And then we are using every bit of that site. We also have a 2-acre site that was 2 blocks away that's no longer going to be available. So we were looking at restoring that 1.6 acres so we could use that in lieu of the other one. We came very, very close when we had Hurricane Irma. We had 72nd Avenue. We had the small area in Country Club Prado near 8th Street. And then we came very close to having to stop operations. So we were able to get that 2-acre site and continue operations. We still came within 2 days of having all the sites filled because we couldn't get the county did not open up a site for mulch. And we had to take it to Pompano Unfortunately, we got them to open 24/7, and we're able to take those 100-yard trucks at night. So that's our issue. I'm hoping that if we work with the county has a lot of properties that they could use. And I'm hoping that if we could work with them and move this along with them, that we could use one of their properties that won't have that same effect on us. Because if we can't lease that 2-acre site this year, I think you remember what that 72nd Avenue looked like during Irma. We had every piece of that site in the back. We moved all our trucks out, and we came within 2 days of stopping operations, because we had either that or go to Country Club Prado, go to Lee Lincoln, or go to Granada Golf Course, which are our go-to areas in case of a major hurricane.
I'd like to get more information about this Leon County project, because it seems to me that or this other company, and I haven't spoken to either of them, but I would like to hear from them. But these are commercial operations, right? These are private companies.
The company would be
presumably feel that the market will buy whatever it is the ash that they're going to produce from grinding up the green stuff in order to make a cement type material that the market wants. Is that correct?
Yes, so this is a company that, the way that they've explained it to us, would co-locate the equipment onto a facility. And so by co-locate, the city would identify a facility. And they would manage the entire operation, and then it would reduce the discussions that we have is that they would reduce our cost of disposal. So by our estimations, our initial conversation, they would save us approximately $200,000 a year in disposal costs. And then they would then take that product and sell it or use it in whatever manner that they
What happens if the market decides they don't like their product? Or if the economy changes, they've got this ash that comes from grinding this stuff up or processing it. What happens then?
That is a concern.
I mean, it seems to me this is you really have to look carefully at the business model. This is very conceptual at this stage, right? I mean, have they actually built anything? Have they actually done it anywhere?
My understanding is they have 2 pilots. I know that they're definitely doing one in Leon County, and that's who we've been in communication with. I haven't researched further to find out the second state that they're working in.
Taking the green stuff, producing this ash, selling it?
I don't know what they're doing with the product, but I do know that Leon County is delivering to them their yard debris. Currently, Leon County's operation, they chip their yard debris. The company hasn't told us that it's necessary to chip it, but that's Leon County's operation. So currently, Leon County is taking their yard debris to the facility, and they are placing it into these containers and turning it into the biochar. What's happening with the biochar at this moment, I'm not sure. I know that they've only been doing the Leon County pilot for about a month and a half, though.
We know who they're selling it to? Do we have any information about?
Commissioner Kingston, the ash is something that can be used in concrete.
Right.
It lowers the cement ratio,
Right.
so it helps the environment quite a bit from that perspective. So it's something that can be used for sidewalks, curbs, and all kinds of concrete like that.
So Mayor, the point is, you bring up great points, but the need for concrete right now is immense. And the fact that this aggregate will be much cheaper than other aggregates that are used to make concrete. So there's always going to be a need for aggregate, especially now. If you look at yards, if you look at a yard of concrete right now, you're talking about $150, $160 a yard of concrete right now. It is through the roof, the cost right now. So there will always be need for aggregates. Look what that's why they're constantly dredging. They're dredging out there where white rock is. So I'm not concerned about whether there's going to be a need or not. My issue is trying to find a sustainable approach to not just dump this yard debris into an ever-growing landfill, which is never ending. The landfill is just getting higher and higher and higher. And also taking that $200,000 a year, which is a pretty significant penny, and say, okay, let's hire more police. Let's hire more garbage individuals to pick up. Let's refine our approach. Let's, pay down debt, whatever it may be. The status quo, in my opinion, is not working. Not. We cannot continue to allow what's happening here in this community. We have to attack the amount of landscaping debris that we're seeing. Let me ask you a question, Paula, because we've already gone through this before on the record. I'm going to put it on the record again. Second time I mentioned, we're now removing trash bins. Okay, please don't write about it. Don't talk about it. Don't spread rumors. Don't do it. Yearly, give me an average of what our yard debris is going up,
So.
percentage-wise.
So we have actually maintained a tonnage of about 30,000 tons for the last few years. We had a slight increase to 31,000 tons, almost 32 in the COVID years, but that's come back down. So we're averaging again about 30,000 tons. We came slightly lower, I believe partially because some of the efforts that we've put in place. So the cardboard ordinance, removing cardboard from the trash pits, as well as the increase monitoring of excess trash debris and billing that's created some self-policing on the part of the residents. But we have been maintaining about 30,000 tons.
But when you look at our city, versus other cities, we have a lot more yard debris than any other city.
We do have a significant, the percentage, the ratio would be higher for Coral Gables than most
Even
cities.
for areas like Coconut Grove and things like that. Let me tell you why that's happening, and I'm going to put it on the record again, because I've shown the videos here. There's an extensive amount of illegal dumping that's happening here in the city. Our landscapers, I know nobody wants to believe it. We love our landscapers. They're great people. But they at the end of the day, will dump their yard debris after they've collected throughout Coral Gables. They'll dump it here in the city because it's easy. Saves them money from having to go to the landfill. It also saves gas and in manpower just by dumping it here. So what I'm trying to do here is find a solution so that we can not have to pay the county to dispose of this yard debris and actually recycle it and make some money back. If anybody else has any other ideas, because I think the status quo is not working.
A question, this other.
And by the way, just one last thing, just may I ask, something that we forget to mention, we got to put on the record. How are we doing year over year in regards to tipping fees from the county? This year, by the way, I promise you, I will be voting next year very differently than I voted this year. Okay? And I think the vice mayor brought it up in a very good point. I will be voting in favor of passing through the yard debris cost increase from the county. This year we ate how much? 300,000?
Yes.
$300,000 increase from the county. Next year, they're going to increase garbage again, correct?
Yes, so our yard debris is primarily disposed at a waste management facility, and that is one of the reasons that we're able to pay less. So we pay about $44 a ton as opposed to $66 or $80 a ton at the county. We do anticipate that both Waste Management and Miami-Dade County will continue to increase their rates this year. So the solution of this recap is a very interesting system. And so we are following the progress along with the pilot program, as well as discussions that Miami-Dade County is having, because they are also challenged with landfill. And so watching what the county is doing will help us to understand what we need to do in order to move forward as a city with our disposal costs. Now, there's a couple of obstacles or challenges.
Can I ask you a quick question? How much do we subsidize garbage, the city subsidize garbage from what the residents pay every year?
I don't have that number with me, but if the
About $3.5 million, correct?
yes,
Am I correct?
2.8, I believe. it was, yeah.
2.8. Thank you for that. So
Under 3, but
So we can either continue to put our head in the sand like ostriches and avoid the problem that we're facing. We're talking about $3 million of overruns, or we can just pass it on and give the true cost of what it costs to pay for garbage here in this community. Because that's $3 million that we're not addressing. And it's only going to go up next year and continue to go up. So if anybody has any solutions that are going to bring down prices and that are going to be more sustainable, I'm all ears.
Mayor, just to clarify, our current contract, we take garbage to Dade County because we have to, because of the bond issue. The county can charge up to the CPI. If the CPI is more than 4 or 5%, then they can charge it. Then they can charge it. If the CPI is 8, for instance, and they can charge that surcharge the following year. So we're going to get hit with those CPI increases. Well, we take trash and recycling to waste management. Recycling right now, we're under 10% contamination, so we don't have a tipping fee for recycling. The trash tipping fee is slightly above $40. I think it's 47 something.
$44.
44, and it's almost $70 for garbage to take to Dade County. We will get hit with increases next year, because whatever increase they couldn't have this year, based on our contract with Dade County, they can take that CPI increase and increase for that portion that wasn't increased the following year. So we will have increases for sure. However, we're trying to manage our waste as cheaply as possible by using the county for garbage, waste management, for trash, and for recycling. So I think what we can do, Mayor, is since they've started this pilot program sometime in mid-December, what we can do is look at it, manage it, look at what this pilot program produces, work it with Durham, and all we need from Dade County is to help us a little bit with a piece of property, and they've got a lot of it that we don't. And I can't see why we can't approach them. We can approach them, Mayor, and say, we need your help. How about for everything we give you, give us back.
Listen, and I'm with you.
10,000 feet, and that's all we need.
I'm with you 110%.
That sounds like the solution.
I'm with you. I just want to make sure that the county understands that, we want to move forward. We want to be autonomous. We do things much better than the county does, and we already spent a lot of money with very limited returns in regards to the county. So, and this is not something, it's not a jab at the county, it's just the facts. The facts are there. So I know that we're in the middle waiting for this response from Leon County. I would like to have, when do you think we'll have some sort of more tangible information?
We can start looking for Dade County and work with a site, because we'll be happy to manage the pilot program. Just give us a site that we can use. I'd like to get just a little more information, Mayor. Just give us a few months to get some information from Leon County and make sure this thing is.
I agree.
This thing really truly has potential, and if we feel it has potential, we even contact the county now to look for. What we need is about half an acre.
Maybe we could buy something. We see something that's worth it.
And to make this work from a pilot program perspective that we can manage. And if we manage it, I think what we need is for them to help us with a site, because our concern is the fact that we're running out of land as far as if we have a potential hurricane.
And by the way, this could be the wave of the future, because as waste disposal gets more and more expensive, smaller cities that we're surrounded by may actually subcontract us to be able to not only be more sustainable, but also to have a significant cost savings in regards to the waste.
So if I may,
Is the second company that you talked to have the same basic concept of what
they
they want to
do.
do?
They came to see me on Friday. They visited me at open office hours.
They came and
Yeah.
saw me at an earlier point. I mean, our yard waste is actually a commodity, and we're wasting it. The second company's concept is they grind it up and they reuse it and sell it to the farmers. They resell it to the nurseries. They need, potting soil and things of that nature, and it can be made into that.
Just throwing it away. We're paying to throw it away. Isn't
My
that crazy?
understanding is it takes less space. So I think we need to look at both of these things in tandem, and if Durham is a problem with the other one, then maybe this is a better
We looked
option.
at these things, Commissioner, when we had the problem with Irma. The problem is that they're small producers. We have 30,000 tons of it, and so there's a lot of tonnage involved. And so we could not find anybody in Dade County that would take the
Understand.
mulch, because we just had too much of it, especially
is
after
new.
a storm.
Yeah, this is
But
is
even
new.
when we don't have a storm, it's 30,000 tons. So it's quite a bit. And so there's really no one that can really take that kind of volume.
Understand. This is new. I think staff needs to have time to look at both options, and maybe both options need to be run. Because there's some things that don't grind up well, or
I wouldn't foreclose any idea. I think I commend the mayor for bringing up this idea. I think it's innovative, and God knows what else is out there. So anything that we think makes sense for us and that addresses the problems we know we have, I'm open to
So the pilot program at Leon County is for 6 months with a 3-month extension. That's what they have on the books right now.
We will monitor that, and Vice Mayor, I think you are correct, we can use a hybrid program too, so we'll use as much as possible.
I would also have the vendors, you know, at the appropriate time, come here and
Talk to us.
explain to us exactly how it works, and we can ask them. And
Yeah.
So I think it's a great thing to look at. And there may be some, I mean, we're not the only city that has this problem. Well, there are 20,000 cities in the U.S. There must be other solutions that have found a way to take this commodity and make money off of it and get rid of this particular problem that we have. This sounds like really worth exploring. I mean, if it works and if the volumes are right and it doesn't, there's no downside in terms of ash or pollution or any of that sort of thing. Great, let's.
Since they started their program mid-December, I'd like to take 2 months to look at their program. They have a 6-month program, 2 months to look at the program, come back, and at the same time, we can be looking towards Dade County to see if we can get a site. We get about an acre, half an acre, which I think they have a number of sites that we could potentially use, and we can come back to the commission in 2 months with an evaluation of the Leon County, and also come back and with some information as far as the assistance we get from Dade County for a site, and we'll be happy to run that pilot program ourselves.
Okay,
We
Mr.
might
Clerk.
also be able to find another city that would want to partner with us. There may be, Cutler Bay.
Well, there's a bunch of cities that are going to do that.
They have a lot of green matter. They have the same problem.
And by the way, you have to truck this all the way to the facility. If you're on 72nd Avenue, it's a short hop and a skip. Instead of driving and being even more efficient, being less efficient, and really hurting the environment even more with more CO2. It's a short drive. Mr. Clerk.
Yes, sir.
At the request of the manager, can we please put this on the March agenda? Whichever agenda the manager would like. We're going to review to see what we can find in Dade County. We're going to review Leon County and the progress of that. And I'd like to see a real report from Leon County. I'd like to see something. Videos, how they're doing. Maybe some staff member can go visit through the manager, can go visit the actual facility and see it. I'll drive up there if anybody wants to do
And I believe they're also sending some of the material to UF for them to.
No, we're going to be there in 2 weeks,
as
so
well.
I mean, I'll be up there probably in March again, advocating on behalf of the city, so we
We have
can.
the company come here and present also.
Yeah, we can have the company. They're represented by Senator Oscar Branyan. He can come and speak. I mean, he's the one that met with us in regards to this. So let's put it on the March agenda. We'll address these issues. The proposed land to house the project, an update from Leon County, actual tangible videos, more insight, and I'll take a visit up there on my own dime. I'll drive up there, or I'll be up there probably advocating on behalf of the city multiple times during the session. I'll make a stop to see it. Just give me the information on where I can do that, okay?
Certainly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thank you for the update. Item G2, Commissioner Menendez.
Yes, thank you, Mayor.
Commissioner, may I read it into the record?
Yes, please.
Oh, by all means.
A resolution of the City Commission authorizing the city manager to provide free gelato at Le Parc Cafe located at the Coral Gables Golf and Country Club on Saturday, April 15th, 2023, in celebration of the country club's 100th anniversary.
How many scoops?
As many as you want.
I mean, that's a serious question.
Oh, no, I'm leaving that to the manager's office. We don't deal with that.
One scoop, Commissioner.
One scoop.
One big
I can
scoop.
see people coming and saying, give me 10.
Well, we don't want to be responsible for, their high blood sugar, so.
But I invite you all to go, and I'll provide you free gelato. 2023 is the 100th anniversary of the Coral Gables Golf and Country Club. January 15th, technically the golf course, and April 15th, 3 months later, according to history, is when the country club opened its doors to the public. And what better way, especially now that the city has repaired and renovated the country club back to its beautiful original, luster, and what better way to celebrate the centennial than to provide something that the community can come together and enjoy, young and old. And, wherever you go, people love gelato, especially in South Florida if the temperatures go up. And I think it'd be a beautiful gesture on behalf of the City Commission, tandem with the administration. Fred, Carolina, good luck with this one. to provide free gelato to folks on April 15th, Saturday, April 15th, from 12 noon to 5 p.m. It's also tax day. You can go visit your accountant, go there and have a free gelato as well. But I think, we focus a lot on issues that are important to our city. And I'm so proud and honored to be part of a city commission with my colleagues here that really never lose sight of doing something, every opportunity that's special for our residents, that make them smile, that make them enjoy what the city offers, and obviously through the manager's office and, Fred and Carolina's team. So that's what it is. It's an opportunity to celebrate, and it's an opportunity to come together. And unless there's some health code, I'd be more than happy to help serve some of the gelato, and I'm sure my colleagues will as well. But that's what it is in a nutshell. It's a celebration.
All right, I'm in. Just want to make sure how we're going to stop people from having 15 scoops of gelato. Fred,
One per customer, Mayor.
don't blame Carolina later.
As long as supplies last?
Yeah, the one thing I want to make sure is that we have plenty of people serving I don't want the line coming all the way to City Hall, but, but I'll be more than happy to help. I'm sure everybody else. It's a great time of the year as well. So I'll make the motion if that's okay.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Perfect. Moving on to I-1, 2 last remaining items, city manager items.
Did we do E? We can do E later?
Mayor, our Director, Martha Pantine, will present on
Did I miss
on this item. I think we have, this is
got
it.
Did you?
Yeah, we did. We did E1 and E2? Yeah, we did those
Yes,
consent.
those were on consent.
Yes, we did
We
them.
did them, okay.
Okay.
We're doing much better every year. This is a recap of 22, and we'll allow our Director, Martha Pantine, to present.
So, Michael, if you could put okay, so this is our social media report for the 2022 year in review. We have, hold on. Okay, so this is where we're ranking as far as our growth, comparing 21 to 22. We've seen that we have grown, even modest in Facebook, which we know that a lot of people are actually leaving Facebook. But in spite of that, we still grew by 3%. We grew 12% in Instagram, which is a significant increase just because of the size. If you look at our numbers and the size of our city, for example, the city of Miami has 114,000 followers. City of Miami Beach has 99,000 followers. So our number there is really, really impressive. We also see that when we post certain things, how we get followers. So when the mayor proposed and we put on Facebook that we named Nino Pernetti Way back in May we actually saw an uptick in the number of followers. When we had Gloria Ordaz here as our host for the Christmas, we also saw that weekend a big uptick in followers. So that makes a big difference. But the biggest difference that you'll see will be in LinkedIn. And that is, we had a huge increase in LinkedIn. And that increase was related to the Why Coral Gables campaign. So what really shows is that you have to, each platform, you have to have different information. And that one is one that is very business geared. So we actually gained over 50% because of that. The next is our Facebook reach and visitors. So our reach is the number of people that have visited our site seen at least one of our posts, and 18,000 is the visits to our page. And our top post by reach, believe it or not, was when we spoke about the website and we were asking for feedback. So that's really important because at least people were knowing that we were changing. Our most liked post Again, number 1 was our website, number 2 was the World Cup announcement, and number 3 was when the city attorney's office was all said that they were certified. And that also speaks to the fact that when you put people that are also on Facebook and people follow, like our former city attorney, Miriam Soler Ramos, then other people will follow that as you tag people. For Instagram, our reach, as I said again, people that will reach at least one was over 280,000, and our profile page was 68,000. Our top post was when they did that pop-up with flowers on Miracle Mile, and of course Santa. Every year we always find he's a very popular guy. Again, our most liked post was Santa, followed by the Harvest Arch, and another one with Santa. That's when he liked the riding around town. Our Twitter overview, I cannot show you by year because of just how Twitter gives us the information. It's by quarter, and we've seen how many people were viewed in the first and second quarter, followed by the third and fourth quarter, and you see 150,000 impressions, so that's pretty positive as well. Our engagement in Twitter is, the rule of thumb is from 0.5 to 1, from 0.5% is what people would do. 1% or above is considered great. So with a 3% for our account, we're doing something really, really great. And
What does that percentage mean? I'm sorry?
Joe, you want to clarify? But
So that's the engagement rate. So every time somebody either
you have to
clicks
talk
on a link, every time somebody either clicks on a link, likes
That's the
tweet
percentage of your followers?
of anybody who views the tweet, regardless of whether they follow us or not. So the rule of thumb is 1% or above is considered like great engagement.
3% of people who see it on their feed
Right.
engage with it.
Right. Whether that's a retweet, a like,
Got it.
etc.
So and that's an industry benchmark. So we think that that we're doing well. Then the next one is again the Twitter engagement for quarter 3 and 4. The top 3 tweets. Now you see this is the mayor when he spoke at the Emergency Operations Center for the hurricane. That was actually our top tweet of the year, and that just shows you that different platforms attract different type of information. Right. And Twitter is more of a direct news information versus a promotional information. So, we're trying to hone our messages to the different platforms. This is Constant Contact. Constant Contact is what we use for e-news every Wednesday. And 37% is the open average rate for government. And so we are 8% higher than that, which is really positive. And we're also higher than we were last year at a 30%. So we have changed the format, and we keep on honing it to make the stories shorter, more interesting, because most people do not go to links. Most people do not want long stories. And the other thing that's important is the time that you send it. 95% of the people that are opening are viewing it on a desktop versus a phone. So that's also important because that means that people are viewing it during work time. So by saying that, that is why we always go out just right around noon on a Wednesday so that people are able to view it. If you're sending out at 8 o'clock at night and stuff, then you're going to lose your audience. And some of our times we've even seen up to almost a 50% open rate. Our top editions, this is hard to say because it's not really, it just might be the time of the year. Although for me it was interesting that most of them were in the summer when people opened. And then again, our LinkedIn overview, We've had like the reactions, the comments, et cetera. As I said, the White Coral Gables campaign was really great. And here you see our overview regarding reactions. And then if you see our top posts by impressions, when we did the White Coral Gables, which I'll run just to, I think Mayor Kaysen does not know about it. It was when we did, when the mayor spoke at the State of the City, and that's when we premiered it on LinkedIn, and that was our top post for the year. And that's also the time when between that one and then the next one, which is the Bacardi post, gained a lot. Because this has been so successful and because this is really attracting, it talks about the type of businesses that we want, we do have a new set coming up. We already have one company, Constantino, that's based here, we already have theirs. We'll be doing Terumo, and we're seeking to do Disney and Mastech. And again, if you have any contacts or any suggestions of other companies that we could use, that would be great. And then Michael, if you could just run so that Mayor Kaysen knows what I'm talking about here in the White Coral Gables.
Coral Gables is home to the best in the business, and this is why.
I'm Eddie Catillas. I'm Vice President of Community Relations at Bacardi North America. Bacardi has been family-run for 7 generations. Coral Gables is a close-knit, caring community and a great place to bring your family to work and to live.
Hi, my name is George Rosa. I'm the Director of Marketing for Kirch Foods. We're located here in the beautiful city of Coral Gables. We found that the commercial side of Coral Gables is growing every day, and there's plenty of opportunity and plenty of beautiful spaces for us to consider for a corporate office.
Hi, my name is Christine Valls. I'm Vice President of Sales for American Airlines, managing Florida, Latin America, and Caribbean. Coral Gables is centric to the entire city. It's very close to the airport. We have a lot of customers that are also based in Coral Gables, and it's very accessible for our employees as well that come into the office.
Hi there, my name is Claudia Poe, and I'm the Global Head of Corporate Communications at Fresh Del Monte. The fact that Coral Gables values sustainability is very important to us because at Fresh Del Monte, sustainability is the foundation of what we do. We are growers and farmers at heart, so it's important that our home base here in the United States has similar values, so it is very important to us.
Hi, I'm Jerry Plush. I'm the Chairman and CEO of Amarin Bank, headquartered here in Coral Gables since 1987. There's a lot of history here at the same time. There's really a mix of a modern feel. There's excellent shopping, there's excellent restaurants, there's lots of other businesses that have headquartered here for us to do business with.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Very good. Great work.
I guess that you might sometime consider doing this for some of the consulates in the Gables.
We did do the consulates. Or originally, some of the consulates, they actually performed very poorly.
Really?
Yes.
That's too bad.
They performed very poorly. We did, I think it was St. Lucia, Turkey, Mexico. We did, that one was called, that's when I first started here at the city 2.5 years ago, and that one was called Why I Love Coral Gables or something like that. But we could certainly revisit the idea and maybe just make it a little bit different, talking more about international.
I'm thinking more about the careers. I mean, not the honorary so much, but you have like the Italians have their trade office for Southeast United States here. Colombia has their biggest consulate in the world, I think, here. Take some of those that have career professional, tell why they picked the Gables to be here.
Well, and we've seen that last year we had the consulate of Guatemala move to Coral Gables, and now Paraguay just moved. So we definitely will look at it and look at what we did before to do it differently, so that to make it successful. And those are the type of projects that are good for LinkedIn. They're not good maybe for, for Facebook or Twitter, et cetera, because we have to really make each messaging go with the platform that we're dealing with.
Which platform are you going to use for the gelato?
I think that that's definitely a Facebook and Instagram that and for the anniversary, that's definitely not a Twitter or LinkedIn.
E-News?
Huh?
E-News?
It will be an e-news.
Okay.
We're going to sell out.
So, sure.
All right, thank you very much. Moving on to I2, the last item of the day.
I2 is a resolution of the City Commission accepting the recommendation to extend the waiver of the competitive process of the procurement code for all purchases related to the Coral Gables Country Club for an additional 6-month period as special procurement bid waiver pursuant to Section 2-691 of the city's procurement code.
Seems a pretty simple request.
Yes. Similar to our request when we first asked, we, as you know, we've presented, we have a few items that we still need to finish up, and timing is of the essence, so we asked to continue the waiver for only 6 months and be able to operate as we need to see forth.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move it.
Second.
Vice Mayor Mena?
Yes.
Commissioner Menendez?
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kaysen?
Yes.
Mayor Lago?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Anderson, do you have any final comments?
I would like to, continue on with Dover Coal and bring it on the next agenda
Okay,
for discussion purposes.
it's there. It'll be there.
Okay.
I have
Mayor?
two things. One, at the Le Parc Cafe, there's still no sign there that says it's closed Monday. I was there yesterday interviewing somebody on the tables outside, and there was at least 50 people that came up, knocked on the door, and were frustrated, had their kids, and walked away. So it seems to me that you need to put a sign up, somehow get out the word that it's closed, because these people may not come back again. They get really upset when they get there and see it's closed.
Yeah,
Because on the door it says open Monday through Friday.
Yeah,
Monday through Sunday.
We put a temporary sign up yesterday, and we will get a permanent one up there.
And on
So
that-
there will be one.
And on that point, I know they have in the front, I'm a regular, the menu. If they're closed, move that menu back inside, because just that menu makes the
think it's-
person drive
right.
up.
Yes.
Put the closed Monday up in the front,
on the
so
door,
people drive by, they don't get out of their car, park, and come. And it's just, people like it, but they just get very frustrated when they get to the door.
Yep.
Right.
We will do that, yes.
Mayor?
The other thing is, you remember when I was mayor, one of our big campaigns we had with Greg Lean and the whole commission approved was getting rid of what we called at the time the elephant turds.
Yeah.
Remember those are these giant blocks of
And
people?
I call them in constantly.
Right, and we had a big campaign, and we got rid of tons and tons of them.
Yes.
But what you're seeing now is people are very creative, and they now put flags everywhere.
Yes.
Everywhere you go, there's red flags, there's blue flags, there's ropes,
Right, yeah.
there's reflectors. Sure, they should be there if you have
Fresh landscaping.
fresh grass, but
Fresh
they're
grass.
not. I walk around the golf course, and the same ones there have been for 6 months. It's the swale, it's a city property. What people are trying to say is that this is my swale. I don't want those people to park in front of my house. And they're trying to do what we have prohibited many times. Code enforcement should really, I think, take one day and just go and clean them all out. Just take them away. I think we've discussed it legally. It can be done. Just take them. There's no need to discuss it.
How do we, what do we need to do to make this a reality?
We will do that, Mayor. I think we've been allowing them just when you plant new grass for a short period of time until the grass sets, but they're not supposed to be there for over, I would say, 2 or 3 weeks, right?
And if it's a question of that they want something to grow there, we have 5 or 6 different types of green matter that can be planted, if that's the question. But it's just getting out of hand, and they're more and more and more. And so I think we really
We've been removing them, but I think they put them back. I think what we're going to do is next time, the second time, we will cite.
And also, we need to also be very careful. You're seeing a proliferation of crushed rock on the swales everywhere. Remember, the crushed rock is to be in areas where there's not enough sunlight. So if you go to North Gables now, it's like, I've called in, and they always say, no, they have a permit, and their entire swales are becoming crushed rock. So if that's what we're looking for, if that's the route we're going, tell me, because I'm getting people who are saying, listen, I'd rather put artificial grass on the swale.
The banner should be by special permit in areas where you have so many trees that you cannot grow grass. And that's the idea of that. So we will make sure that that's the case.
But we have a swale planting package with shade-loving plants that are gorgeous.
I'd rather have that. I'd rather have that.
That is correct.
And that helps with drainage and.
Commissioner Menendez?
Two things. One, is my image up? There you go. Before I go to that image, we had at the Miracle Theater, Indiana Jones Raiders of the Lost Ark last Sunday, and it was a packed house, and folks were so happy to see these classic movies on the big screen. Mayor Dorothy Thompson and her husband Jack attended. They were super excited. And when the movie ended, it was like a round of applause. So it goes to show you how much people like to come together and sort of enjoy these types of things. So at the Art Cinema, Gables Art Cinema, the other series that I'm helping with, we have That's Entertainment, which is basically a look at the golden era of the movie industry, particularly MGM, especially the musicals. The movie's hosted by Liza Minnelli, Fred Astaire, Gene Kelly. Rotten Tomatoes has it scored a 100, and it's considered one of the best movie of that nature. So it's basically taking you through the golden era of movies. Roger Ebert, which is my favorite critic of all time, who passed away a couple years ago, says the movie's fun from beginning to end. It's not camp, it's not nostalgia. It's a celebration of a time and place in American movie history when everything came together to make a new art form. So I encourage folks to see it. It's incredibly entertaining movie. So I hope everybody can come out and enjoy it. The only other thing I have is on a personal note. I want to wish my dad a heavenly happy birthday. He would have been 101. And I just want to say that's for my dad.
All right. Love it. Thank you. Commissioner, Vice Mayor. Mr. Clerk.
Yes, during the last commission meeting, we spoke about the April election and early voting, and the vice mayor brought up that the Sunday prior to the election is Easter Sunday. Perhaps it might not be a good idea to host early voting on Easter Sunday.
Okay.
So
what other options do we have?
we can do it 10 days before the election, which would be the weekend before that. It's actually Palm Sunday also, but
Do we have to make a decision today, or do we?
We do not have to make a decision
Okay,
today.
why don't we think about it, and we come back to the next commission meeting with a
Okay.
decision there.
Just to be clear, I'm not necessarily opposed to having early voting on that day. My comment about Easter was more broadly when we schedule the elections, that certain years it falls on Easter week where you have a lot of people traveling, kids are off of school. That's not something that's going to get resolved for this April at this point, but it was just kind of a bigger picture, something for everybody to keep in mind moving forward. Maybe there's something that can be tweaked at some point if there's ever a charter review or something, to try to navigate that a little bit. I still think it's a good idea to have early voting the weekend before, just to make it easier for people. But
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
Listen, the more the merrier.
Can the administration, before it comes back to us, give us some options?
Yes.
So we can look at them? Yep. That way we hit the ground running.
But to have it 10 days before and not have it that weekend, I think is a little awkward.
Yep.
I
agree.
So,
Looks like I think our choices have been made for us, but we'll talk about it in the next commission meeting. I have one item, unless the manager has anything you want to add.
No, Mayor, thank you.
Madam City Attorney,
I don't have anything, Mr. Mayor.
congratulations on your first meeting, by the way.
Thank you.
You did a wonderful job.
Thank you.
I thought we didn't miss a beat. One item, dovetailing off the legislation that was presented by the Vice Mayor. As I drove through the city this weekend, I looked at City Hall, I admired its beauty, and then I noticed the City of Coral Gables flag is ragged. It needs to be replaced. Please, using the protocol that the Vice Mayor has set forth, let's replace the flag. Also, let's look at all our existing flags. Make sure that they're being reviewed as often as possible. I want to make sure that when we fly our colors, we fly it with the dignity and respect that the flag deserves. And I've seen the American flag not look its best. And if you look at Coral Gables right now, the flag outside here in City Hall, it's in pretty bad shape.
We'll take care of that right away, Mayor.
Before you move on to something else while you're on that topic, I think Martha left, right? I don't think I've seen anything either on our website or anything promotional with respect to the flag program that was passed. So unless you let people know it exists, it doesn't exist.
Let's put it on the next.
We'll put it up.
Yeah,
Let's put it on the next
yeah.
weekly advertisement.
We will.
Yeah.
Okay. I think people will take advantage of it because we're seeing a proliferation of people who are interested in putting up flags.
I think it'd be a good thing for Martha to create a simple promotional video about just.
Like I have a flag on my house that needs to be replaced, and I'll be replacing it hopefully in the next few months. But I like to do it the right way.
Yeah.
So with that being said, if there's no other further comments, anything from staff, anything from the residents? Thank you for being here. Thank you for your input, your guidance. Thank you to everything you guys offer to the city. We hope you have a wonderful week. Take care and God bless.